Hey everybody, and happy Friday. It's JJ once again, and we're back for another ASUS PC DIY hardware stream. It's been a pretty packed week in terms of a lot of things going on here, and we've got a lot of really cool things to be able to talk about, including actually our first guest on the ASUS PC DIY hardware stream, which is actually going to be our friends over at Kingston, to be able to actually talk about this little kit of memory that I've got right here with their latest high performance kit of DDR5 memory with the new Fury Renegade line. So this is a really exciting kit of memory. I've actually had some time to go hands-on with it, be able to do actually some performance tuning with it. Really impressive if you're looking to take it to the next level in terms of performance. We'll be talking about this as well as some of their other actual DDR5 solutions, also maybe answering your guys' questions. Beyond that, of course, we've got tons of other things to be able to talk about in this stream, including new 1600 series UEFI updates for our Z690 series of motherboards, as well as actually B660 series of motherboards, and actually how that might play into your DDR5 experience. We're also going to actually be talking about, I think, 4 different giveaways that we have currently going on, including, of course, our worldwide ROG Evangelion base giveaway, but we've got 3 other really cool giveaways that we want to be able to go ahead and touch on. We've got brand new updates in terms of the 3rd wave of ROG Evangelion hardware release in North America. And then we've got a wide range of new updates in terms of new hardware that's going to be coming out, including the RYUJIN II aRGB edition, which is, of course, the follow-up to the Noctua original edition. We've got a new Zen Screen Ink portable monitor, which is pretty cool. Our TUF Gaming VG24 base monitor that we'll be talking about. So that's a really nice kind of sweet spot 1080p, 165 hertz gaming monitor. And then an actually new update to the ROG Strix lineup of gaming monitors with a 1080p, 180 hertz monitor, but that also brings about a cool feature that we introduced in a higher end monitor, which is the integrated tripod socket mount, which gives you some flexibility for streaming setups. And we'll talk about that, as well as actually 3 new other mini PCs that we're going to be launching in the not too distant future. So a lot going on in this stream. So let's see who we have joining us here. Erica, thanks so much for joining us here on the stream. Fantastic to have you here. Thanks for letting us know on the audio. We've got Miguel joining us here. Thanks so much for joining us here on the stream. Dustin, happy to have you here, man. Hello. Thanks so much for joining us here. Tankakarus, who's been out and about, and always nice to be able to see here on the stream. Nelson, thanks so much for joining us here on the stream. Fantastic. Looks like, oh, we've got Evangelion TV, man. Okay, I think that goes perfect, of course, with everything that we're doing in terms of ROG Evangelion. And let's go ahead and give a shout out to Brandon. I think I saw PGPCs out there. I think I saw Carrie, Sue Min. Oh, there we go. Sue Min and Joseph Kelly. All thanks for joining us here on the stream. So let's get ready to go ahead and actually talk about actually some DDR5 memory. So we'll be talking about some of the other things that we normally jump into, I think, after this segment, but I want to go ahead and actually invite a friend over here from our partners over at Kingston. So let's go ahead and say hello to Mike. So Mike, welcome to the PC DIY hardware stream. It's really cool to be able to have you here to be able to talk about actually some of the really awesome solutions that Kingston is going to be bringing to the table. Actually, not even bringing to the table. It's actually now available. You can buy it with the new DDR5 Fury Renegade series kits, as well as, of course, your current existing Fury Beast kit. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody here on the stream?
Hi, JJ. Thanks for having me on to talk about Kingston's latest product additions. My name is Mike Money. I'm a senior technology manager with Kingston. My focus is on our DRAM product lines. I've been with Kingston for about 26 years, most of that focused on memory solutions. So I'm really excited to talk about DDR5 and the latest additions to our Kingston Fury overclock product line.
Very cool, very cool. So being with Kingston for so long, I've been with ASUS for about 15 years, been in the industry even longer than that. So both of us have really kind of been able to see a wide number of changes in the industry. And DDR5, I think, is really one of the absolute most exciting changes that we've seen in a long time. Because for me, it's not just, the normal kind of progressional change that we're seeing within memory, but it's really a step change because compared to even prior generations going from DDR3 to DDR4, right, where there was even kind of an overlap in terms of actually kind of the speed and some of the kind of inherent technologies, DDR5 really is kind of almost, there's always a redesign from the pure architecture standpoint, but there's a huge number of things that have been baked in, right? The default speed is the highest
Mhm,
speed bin bump that I've ever seen from generation to
mhm,
generation. Then a
mhm,
huge number of kind of efficiency improvements in terms of how addressing works with the
mhm,
memory. And the scaling of performance is also, for me, been one of the most impressive things to be able to see, which I think you guys are even showing off with literally having
mhm,
launch ready support at 4800 MT, which is the base JDEC
mhm.
specification standard for DDR5. And we're yet literally already seeing 6400 MT. And this is just the starting point, right? We're literally only about 6, 7 months into the DDR5 game, first generation memory controller. And we're literally seeing gains that if we looked at the DDR4 era, you didn't see this level of scaling within such a short period of time. And being able to offer, I think, this level of performance to users in such a kind of high speed solution in kind of an XMP enabled kit, it's really impressive to me and really exciting. So I'm really excited actually about where DDR5 is right now and of course where it's
Mhm.
going. But from your perspective, it's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely, and I could not have said it better. I think you've seen the same things we've seen, which is this is the biggest jump in memory technology that I've seen in my 26 years at Kingston. We've had a huge increase in available bandwidth going from DDR4 to DDR5. DDR4 ending at 3200 JEDEC spec, and DDR5 starting at 4800 JEDEC spec. And even then, from last year's launch with Alder Lake and the Z690 or the 600 series from Intel, we're going to see a major jump with the next gen Raptor Lake as well as the AMD AM5 Raphael. Going from possibly skipping over 5200 and possibly starting at 5600 JEDEC spec. We've also had a huge increase in the overclock capabilities of DDR5 right from the onset. With DDR3 and DDR4, our experience was that the semiconductors on the DRAM side were a little behind, and they were racing to be there for Intel when that new technology launched. With DDR5, we were ahead of the game. So Kingston, with our DRAM semiconductor suppliers, we work with all three of the majors, so Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, with committed supply agreements. So we have cherry pick of those DRAMs. We were ready to go when the launch happened last year. And so that's how we were able to be there for our motherboard partners at ASUS to provide you with modules for your launch kits. And we seem to be the only ones with inventory at the launch. So that was pretty exciting. We avoided all those issues with the chip shortage with other components. We had planned very far ahead for that. So yeah, but to get back to your point about it being a huge jump in speed, yeah, I have never seen anything like this in our history of memory overclock, to see such fast speeds ready so quickly.
Yeah, so I think this just is a reinforcement, just from perspective, is that it's really exciting to be able to see what's possible right now, and then of course, even just looking towards the future, like you noted, with Intel next generation platform, AMD next generation platform, really being committed
Mhm,
to DDR5, and of course with us, we're super excited, and of course looking to continue to push the envelope and being able to work with great partners like you, really is of course how we can make sure to give the best experience to users. So I think let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the kind of the product portfolio. So we're going to talk
mhm,
about actually a brand new series of memory here from you guys, right? With the new
mhm,
Renegade line, because previously you guys had the value RAM. So that's generally memory for your guys' perspective. Well, I think I can go ahead
mhm,
and bring up the page right here, but that's generally going to be DIMMs that would be, JDEC value, right? Standard kind of PCB, no heat sinks, very much, you know, streamlined kind of experience for the user. You just want to drop in and be able to have a you know, solid, stable, and reliable, but no kind of overclocking. And then we step into what I think a lot of people might have already been familiar with in terms of the initial kits that were available for DDR5 and also, you know, DDR4 with the Fury Beast, right? Which you guys also recently, not that long ago, introduced the RGB variant, right? And now we've got a new one. So is that the 3 series, or help us kind of understand that kind of maybe good, better, best strategy? Is that
No, yeah, happy to cover that. So Kingston, kind of, we approach things as either a JEDEC spec product, right, or industry standard, and that's called our value RAM product line. So if you're buying just a basic spec and you don't want to do overclock, that's the product line you're going to go with if you're going to build your ASUS board and do your own custom system. And then if you want to do overclock, we started doing that in 2003 with our HyperX brand. Now, a couple years ago, we sold off the HyperX division to HP. That was just the peripherals, keyboards, mice, that sort of thing. But we retained our internals, the DRAM and the flash solutions. And so we continue that tradition just under a new name. So we rebranded. It's called Kingston Fury. And so with Kingston Fury, we've renamed a few of the product lines. So we have our entry or mainstream product, which is called Kingston Fury Beast. And then we have our high-end product line, which is called Kingston Fury Renegade. And we have those with technologies ranging from DDR3, DDR4, and now DDR5. And we have non as well as RGB solutions. So the latest introduction is what you just mentioned, the Kingston Fury Renegade DDR5 with and without RGB.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You know, it's nice to just be able to give kind of flexibility. Now, before we go into specifically talking about Renegade, if we just give a little context, what are the kind of the speed bins that we're looking at between these different series? So I think with, you know, the value RAM, right, is that the max, is that following kind of JEDEC standard? So 4800, is that the maximum?
Yeah, value RAM is just JEDEC spec. So value RAM is going to be a 4800 CL40 at 1.1 volts for DDR5.
And then if we move into the Beast,
yeah,
what are we looking at in terms of minimum to max?
Yeah, Beast starts at 4800, and it does so with a technology called plug and play, where it auto overclocks without having to engage an XMP profile. That's a technology that Kingston's engineers developed about 15 years ago. And then the next step up, it would be our 5200, then 5600, and then 6000. And so Beast is going to give you nice competitive CAS latencies and speeds at a good price. If you want to go further, you want to really push the limits, that's when you're going to graduate to the Renegade family. And that's going to start at 6000 with much lower CAS latency options pre-programmed, as well as 6400. So we go from somewhere in the CAS latency 38 space at 6000 for Beast down to 32. So very aggressive, right in line with Kingston's competitors, and lots of headroom for you to tinker if you want.
Very cool. So now that we kind of have a sense of that, let's actually talk about this new kit on the block that we've got right here, which is going to be, I think, the Renegades, right? So I was really excited about this when we had a little bit of an offline conversation before about talking about doing this collaboration, because, you know, for me, I'm definitely all about that performance. And the Beast kit, which actually, if anybody's been watching the stream, this has pretty much been the actual core memory that I've been running pretty consistently here on our test bed, day in and day out from our stream. It's been stable, reliable. It's been working great without any issues. It even had a little bit of margin, even though this one is a 4800 MT. I could run this at actually at 52 with a little bit of tuning, and it was nice. But of course, when I found out that you guys were going to be having this really high performance kit, of course, that, you know, my eyes opened up a bit, and I was pretty excited because, of course, you guys were bringing your A game in terms of really nice performance. And this also reminded me of your kind of prior Predator kit, which I had a really outstanding experience on the DDR4 side at the end of kind of in Rocket Late era, where, you know, was able to see, you know, literally 5 gigahertz plus DDR4, which was super impressive at the time. Very, very rare, and you had to have very good memory controller to make it happen. But when you could match those things up. It was really a great experience, and that's the thing that I really love here with the Renegade. So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of closer look here on the secondary camera, take a look at some images. And I know you talked about kind of some of the spec, but help us kind of understand from kind of a design perspective, what are some of the differences between when you're kind of maybe designing and developing, binning out the Beast product versus the Renegade product? What is kind of the difference there?
It just aesthetically, they're going to look a little bit different. We decided to introduce a new design, some new design concepts. So you're going to see the Renegade family now has silver and black aluminum heat spreader. So it's a little edgier, a little more in line with our new look for the Kingston Fury product family. a little more aggressive. The other thing you'll notice is that Kingston Fury Renegade is going to be a little taller. So we do try to strive for Beast having a low profile in case you have a high standoff or low standoff for your CPU cooling. So those are going to be the main differences. Now, in terms of the components that we use, we do have a very sophisticated binning process, something that's proprietary to Kingston. And so we're going to gather that pool of DRAM that we sourced from the big three semiconductors, and we're going to run millions and millions of chips through a binning process to understand how far can we push them. And then through that grading system, we're going to then carry that over to the module families and say, hey, this class can go all the way up to 6400 or beyond, and these are the particular DRAMs that fall into that. So a big distinction between what we have in our Value RAM product line. Value RAM is going to be just a JEDEC spec product. You're not going to really be able to overclock that. But if you go into the Kingston Fury product line, you're going to have some room beyond the XMP profiles to overclock. But a little bit of a caveat with that. Just know that, if you're going to buy into the lower entry level space, the lower end 4800, 5200, I wouldn't expect those to go too far beyond 6000 if you're manually tuning. We are limited by the DRAM classes that's used on that product line. So if you want to break a record, you're looking to get on the HWBot and break a record there, you're going to want to go with that Renegade product line with the fastest speed, because that's going to have our best DRAM.
Fantastic. So thanks for giving us a little bit of a breakdown there. And I think one of the other things to touch on here is that that's still a little bit new for some people that aren't as familiar with DDR5, is that when it comes to overclocking memory, well, you guys have definitely done an outstanding job with the predefined XMP profile, right? Which this differs from the JEDEC standard profile, which is industry standard. XMP is kind of a performance standard that was first designed and developed by memory partners in coordination with Intel, but now it's very much an industry-wide initiative. We're the actual #1 board partner that has validation for XMP, both on DDR4 and DDR5. We're very happy about that position. But with that XMP is that when we went to DDR5, one of the changes was the introduction of the what some people call the PMIC or the PMIC on there, and that also influences the overclocking. So even outside of your guys' of course PCB design, and of course your power implementation, and of course the binning for the memory itself, the PMIC plays a part because there's an overclock kind of centric PMIC, and then there's a non-overclock centric PMIC. Correct. And this is where you're talking even outside of, let's say, the memory itself maybe having certain margin. The PMIC wasn't designed for essentially having the ability to tune a margin, then you can't kind of really overclock it well. And so that's, of course, a benefit of also buying into these kits is, one, you are getting a kit that gives you a guaranteed level of experience, assuming that, the memory controller, especially as we step up to something like 6400, can run at that speed. But you also have that flexibility because you guys have a PMIC implementation that gives you overclocking support, essentially. Whereas, like you said, on your more basic memory designs, there's a PMIC on there, but it's not an overclocking centric PMIC. And so that's important to know, because like in the past in DDR4, since we had the responsibility, we could kind of always give quote unquote overclocking to that. But that also led to limitations, because you guys now being able to keep everything all in one house allows you, I think, maximize the margin of what you're outputting, right? Because you get to control essentially all those things. There's less chefs in the kitchen, right? As the kind of the discussion might go. So that hopefully gives you guys a little bit better understanding in that. You guys can see some cool shots that we showed there in terms, of course, that this is the RGB enabled configuration where you can see it's got a beautiful, nice, clean, diffused light bar on there. We'll be showing actually a little bit here in terms of the operating system. And I think in a moment I can drop in the DIMMs and we can actually show you what the actual Fury software, which is actually how you can go ahead and control all the lighting environments that is present on there. There will be a forthcoming update a little bit later on, probably around the end of Q3, maybe a little bit earlier, just depends on kind of R&D support. But we will have these DIMMs fully supported through ASUS Aura Armory Crate. So of course you can still synchronize this with your ecosystem. But initially, you can still go ahead and drop these in, take advantage of the Fury control software, and be able to kind of tweak and tune and set. I think there's something like 16 different lighting patterns, so lots of different lighting patterns, and you can go from rainbow to statics to light trails and all kinds of other cool effects. So the software is there to allow you to have a good, solid out-of-box experience. Now, Before we jump into the thing, one thing I wanted to kind of show that I was really proud of is, we spend a lot of time to be able to, of course, maximize interoperability and compatibility. We recently actually launched our 1600 UEFI, and this is an evolution of the 1500 series and really the breakthrough 1400 series, which is really designed at not only maximizing even higher DRAM divider support through our board tuning, but also looking to even maximize 4 DIMM channel configurations. So this would be like a 2 SBC or 2 DIMM per channel configurations for kind of more enthusiast kind of pursuits for users that want to go to higher values. And so one of the cool things here, as you can see, is that consistency of experience, I think, is really nice. This right here, you'll see is a full OCCT stability test running the memory, and 100% no issues. And the cool thing here is we have flexibility that, if maybe you've got a little bit weaker memory controller, the memory has multiple XMP profiles, and Mike, maybe you can speak to this of why you might put in more than one memory profile, right? By default, you're buying a 6400 MT kit, but there is merit at sometimes having alternate profiles to give you more flexibility to ensure an essentially a usable experience, right? Here you can see I've dropped down and I ran a little bit lower, so 6200, there was no issues. Thankfully, I've got a CPU where the memory controller is very robust, so I can also show you, though, running, of course, at higher native speeds. So let me go ahead and drop out of here. And once you speak to the XMP, and I'm going to load up here actually our higher native speeds so that we can show off some of the native 6400 operation.
Yeah, I think most gamers and most DIYers are familiar with XMP, but the XMP history is basically there was a wild west between 2003 and the mid to late 2000s where there was no standards for overclock. And so Intel adopted this industry and decided, well, instead of voiding the warranty anytime you started to tweak things, let's embrace it and let's set some standards there. They came up with the XMP, the Extreme Memory Profile spec, and then we all gathered around that spec and conformed to it. And as part of that spec, we then work with ASUS and the motherboard companies, as well as Intel, to do compatibility, cross compatibility, so we're all in agreement. And it's an easier way to overclock. It used to be overclocking was something only the gearheads would do, right? Where you're fine tuning each of the timings and tweaking the voltage, and you may damage the processor. But with XMP, it's safe. We know what our guidelines are. We know how far we can go with voltage. And then we provide a product that conforms within that, and we certify it. So XMP 3.0 is the latest iteration from Intel that supports DDR5. The great thing about this is they've added some more features to it. So there's now a total of 5 profiles available as compared to DDR4's 2. So profiles 1 through 3 are there for flexibility to switch between different speed and latency performances, as well as voltage. For Kingston, we use XMP Profile 1 for our advertised kit speed. So that's going to be your 6400 in this case. And if that doesn't engage, if you lock into that profile and it doesn't boot safely or is unstable, you can draw back to Profile 2 or Profile 3, which are at slower timings.
Yeah, and you can see right here, guys, I brought up, this is actually our cool SPD tool, which is built into the ASUS UEFI. So this is pre the operating system environment, and you can go into this tool and you can actually see all the XMP data tables along with the base JDEC table that's available to you. And so what Mike is noting there is essentially that we found internally probably about 75% of CPUs. So if you had, let's say, like 10 CPUs, maybe about 7 of those CPUs can generally run a 6000 MT memory divider without any issues. But there might be maybe about 3 of those CPUs that might be a little bit on the weaker side. Doesn't mean, of course, they're all certified to run 4800 because that's what Intel designed the memory controller for, and the rest is in that overclocking kind of margin or gray zone, right? But we found that they could hit 6000. So we can see here, maybe you've got a pretty good likelihood for 64. This is, Kingston's done all their work to validate the chips, the PCB, the DIMM itself is validated to run at that speed. But always when it comes to overclocking, you need motherboard, solid firmware, memory controller, right? And the DRAM. All those things have to work together to be able to achieve that. Yeah, and the cooling. Yes, cooling does play a part, especially as you start to get to some faster speeds. Like 4800, it's not an issue, but as you start to get faster speeds, definitely the heat sinks and actually even some ambient airflow can be actually important sometimes.
Absolutely.
So especially with sustained memory load. So like if you're loading the memory and it's like 64 gigs and you're going to hammer it for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you do actually want to have ambient cooling, because you can actually get some bits, you can get some errors if the memory kind of gets a little too toasty. But you can see right here, you can drop down from 64 to like 6,000 to, even if you want to, 48. And of course, you've got flexibility even within this, where in the ASUS UEFI, you could drop to a manually set DRAM divider, but still keep the XMP other aspects. So an example of this would be, you could actually load the XMP 6400 profile and then just manually drop the divider to 62. But then you would still keep all the actual timings and the voltage. So this is kind of like, I would call an in-between XMP adjustment. Still far simpler for the user, because I don't need to know about tuning all those things. I just drop the divider, and I can then still be in between that 64 to that 60 that 64 to the 6,000. So it still gives you a lot of flexibility. So it's nice that you have essentially those options. And here, let me just go back to those results that I wanted to show you guys. So
and one interesting thing, JJ, to point out is, as you mentioned, the PMIC that's featured on the overclock modules, that's not featured on the JetX spec value RAM modules, does support programmable profiles. So this was part of the XMP 3.0 spec. We have profiles 4 and 5 are user programmable. And so this is where, if you go in and you do some manual tuning and you find a nice stable timing and voltage and speed, you can actually save that to the DIMM itself.
Yeah, so and I love that functionality, because this, before, you had to save it within maybe like a profile within the BIOS, and that can work pretty well. But there's also some disadvantages that, let's say, if you update your UEFI, profiles can't actually go in between builds. There's reasons why we do this, but the value of essentially being able to take maybe a carefully defined profile that's been tuned is you can now save that directly to the DIMM, and then you could just load that profile back up and you could leverage that. So it's less kind of just pain in terms of having to go back in and maybe, use something like our screenshot function and our notes function and kind of save that, then go back in there and redefine everything. Now you could just easily do that. And XMP 3.0 also, along with a lot of work that's been done with Intel, has SPD registers that are all available in Windows too. So you can do even real-time tuning through stuff like XTU, which is really cool if you really want to get into kind of doing tuning that's a lot more dynamic, and I think easier to do than it was in the past, with having to go through so many reboots and going into the UEFI BIOS and whatnot. But yeah, no, definitely XMP 3.0 is pretty cool. And update 2, probably most of you on the desktop side are not going to be using this, but a cool feature that was also introduced was dynamic clocking, or dynamic boosting, that is available. And we do officially now support this in all of our UEFI BIOSes. So if you do toggle this on, it's quite interesting. It's kind of, think about it like a turbo. So we all know that the way turbo works for our CPUs, where when it's under load, it will ramp up, and then when it's not under load, it'll ramp down, right? You can actually do the same thing with your DRAM now. The DRAM can actually dynamically boost up to its high clock, and then it can actually boost down when it's in idle state. This actually gives us just overall better efficiency, tighter power consumption. So it's, again, not as critical on the desktop side. We don't tend to look at those things as intelligently. I think it's a really cool feature, especially for laptops. But it is a cool feature that has also been introduced with an XMP 3.0. Here you guys can see just a quick screenshot that I wanted to show. So we've got the 6400. You can see right there, there's the SPD readout information. We can see that 32. Of course, we can multiply it by 2 to be able to get that 6400. Here's an example running on the Maximus C690 Hero. 1 hour full OCC test, stability, no issues. But maybe you don't want to go and spend all that money to jump into like our high-end Maximus class. Here we've got the ROG STRIX B660-I. So this is our entry enthusiast mini ITX B660 series chipset. But the cool thing here for this generation is Intel did enable an unlocked DRAM divider for the entry chipsets. Where in the past they used to lock the memory divider, but now it's unlocked. So here you can see we're also still running that 6400 on B660, which is pretty sweet. If we shift over to maybe wanting to do like a creator-centric build, where creator-centric builds could really benefit from high-speed DDR5 memory with a lot of decompression. There's a lot of actually DRAM access in different types of applications, whether you're talking about photography, topographical analysis, rendering, batch conversions, things along those lines. You can also see here the Z690 creator board, also fully stable. And then we can go to even something like our Jack of all trades, one of my favorite boards, our White series, our Prime series, also showing you that. So across the board, whether we're talking about the Prime to, to the ProArt, to the ROG Maximus, to even something like, B660, you can actually have a really great experience. And a lot of this just comes through, of course, with the great work you guys do in terms of your XMP profiles. Because I can't tell you in the past, not all profiles are created equal. Sometimes you do get profiles that can be a little wonky here and there. And, you know, you have to end up kind of doing things as a motherboard manufacturer to fix them. You tune them, you tweak them so that you can make them work. So it is important to get those tuning correct here.
It is definitely a partnership when it comes to overclock, of making sure that, you know, our spec is going to work on your boards and vice versa. So we appreciate all the tuning and BIOS support you guys have provided us over the years.
And I don't want anybody to think that we've forgotten about your questions. I'm going to take here in a moment, in a second, to take a look through and see what we might have popping up there, guys. We just wanted to make sure that we covered, I think, a good amount of stuff that hopefully answered your guys' questions at the same time right here. So I think beyond that, I think you might have touched on it already. You guys, of course, have been always a long time leading partner, really, of course, I think, worldwide. I think you might be holding still the #1 DRAM manufacturer position. But you guys, of course, use Micron, you of course use SK Hynix, you use Samsung. For these Renegade kits, which ICs are you guys using for these Renegade kits?
Well, it could be any one of those. We don't like to make an official comment on that. And it's not necessarily about giving away any secret sauces or anything, but what I've noticed over the past few years is that reviewers and overclockers may get really stuck on a particular DRAM and think that that's the best DRAM that exists, right? I think for a number of years it was the Samsung B die, right? But what they don't understand behind the scenes is that might not necessarily be true, that there might actually be other vendors such as Hynix or Micron that may have a different die that's binning better or is more stable or better in other ways. And so with us, it's all about defining a class in our binning process. So if we bin a class or a grade of DRAM, it's designed to meet a certain spec. And that's, of course, the advertised spec that we sell. So if you're pushing beyond that and you're looking to break a record, yeah, you're going to want to know what the best DRAM is. Unfortunately, I can't really tell you what that's going to be. But if you go to the HW bot, you'll see some of the world records that have been broken, and they do reveal the DRAM that's being used there. We go through a pretty rigorous screening process when we provide samples for overclock records. And they could be different DRAMs just depending on where we're at. I would say, you know, I'm pretty fond of, for DDR5, anything over, 6,000 these days. I think Hynix is the leader in terms of DRAM, but we are coming up on a next generation set of DRAM on new wafer lithography, new die revisions from all three of the big semis. And so we're anxious to see.
It's interesting, right? Because we're in this, what people perceive as being like first wave of DDR5, but internally, because the development has already been actually around for some time, we're actually moving into the second wave on the back end production side, which is also introducing this now second wave on the consumer side of what is going to be viable in terms of DDR5 offerings. So that's actually pretty exciting. And I think the tag team onto your point there about ICs is that what we also tell people too is that what is also important is that if you go about mixing kits, one, we generally don't recommend mixing kits in the first place because XMP profiles are written for a specific kit and configuration. So if you take 4 DIMMs and you try to take a kit and that profile was designed for 2 DIMMs, you've kind of fundamentally broken it because, as you know, Kingston or any memory manufacturer, when they're validating that, they validated it for 2 DIMMs, not for 4 DIMMs. And so that in itself is a challenge. But also if you're buying DIMMs at different times, like you noted, because your guys' goal is to advertise and align with whatever the out-of-the-box stated values are, whether they're the operating parameter in terms of the frequency, the voltage, and the timings, but that can be achieved through with different ICs, right? But that can also influence how a mix configuration can work. And so ideally, this is why we always recommend native kits, right? If possible, you want to look for a native kit configuration. And with DDR5, that's less of a concern than it was in the past because also the densities have gone up, right? Before, you kind of had to maybe go with 4 because you wanted to get to a certain density. But now it's like you can get 64 gigs with 2 DIMMs, right? So, you know, that takes away some of that pain point. But I'm sure, Mike, you've heard it too, that aesthetically out there, we got a lot of people here that like their 4 DIMMs just because they like to see their whole motherboard slot populated. So, you know, I'm sure they're going to tell you they want to see some Kingston 4 DIMM kits. Although I'll tell you internally, I can tell you guys from performance testing, you lose performance if you go with 4 DIMMs. You don't actually technically want to go with 4 DIMMs. So if you really care about performance, guess what? You want to go with 2 DIMMs because you're going to get the best performance. If we talk about total endpoint latency, is going to be superior with 2 DIMMs than it would be with 4 DIMMs.
You're absolutely right, and that wasn't the case with DDR4. What the challenges have been with the latest DDR5 architecture, the memory controllers, is what we're finding is one DIMM per channel configurations are the best for overclock, and using single rank modules, not dual rank. In the past, dual rank modules would always be your go-to because the ranks would interleave and provide better performance. But when it comes to overclock, that's not always the case. And particularly for DDR5, as you said, JJ, in a 2D DPC configuration where you're filling out all 4 sockets for the best lighting effects, right? You're not going to get the best overclock experience. And so what you're going to find with Kingston's Fury, Beast, and Renegade portfolio for DDR5, we're only doing dual channel kits. And we don't recommend installing all 4 modules if you want to go into the extreme. So as soon as we feel comfortable, as soon as the technology is there for DDR5 to support a stable overclock at a given good speed, we will release a kit of 4 so you can fill all 4 sockets and be guaranteed to lock in your profile.
Very cool. Very cool. So I think lastly here, and I will do want to reinforce, guys, we've done a lot of work here, and I can tell you that we do very confident in our UEFI experience that, well, like I said, Kingston, they really want to follow kind of that stringent standard. We have a very good experience right now still with those of you that do want to run a 4DIMM configuration. But the last thing I'll bring up, if you guys, again, want reference on information, we've got a really good DDR5 Insight post that we released in the community regarding this, regarding kind of Intel's port table, where, of course, as you go to 2 slot per channel, do 10 per channel, you actually drop the official specification standard. Technically, the optimal of the 4800 MT, that's actually only in single DIMM per channel, and with low, actually, I think it's with 1 rank and 2 rank configurations. But as you move to, of course, more dense configurations, that actually drops all the way down to, technically, the JDEC is 36 on the port table. So it is technically... but the cool thing is we can actually get higher than that, right?
You guys do better.
Guys show you that we can take this kit. Like, take, for instance, I can run these 4 4800 MT Fury Beast, even though it's not a 4DIMM kit. I can run this on a Z690 board, 4800, even 5000, 5200 MT. It's possible, but keep in mind that the IMC also plays a part. UEFI quality plays a part. There's a lot of variability, and there's a reason why the Intel port table exists. So last but not least, let's talk a little bit about just performance tuning. I think we've already kind of touched on it a little bit here, but these modules themselves, right, were rated for, I think the standard, right, is 6,000 on one of them, and then the other module itself, let me bring up back the page here, is 6,400. But can users still do some performance tuning here?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just know that when they call Kingston, I'm not going to tell them what they can do, right? This is the fun of overclock, right? When you get into manual tuning, this is where you get to see what can you do, how far can you push it, right? So we're only going to be able to stand behind what we tested at the factory and what we ship to you in terms of spec. But by all means, I want to see how fast these guys can go.
Very cool. And I can show you guys just a little bit here before we take a look at some of your guys' questions, just some tuning. This is just a little bit of kind of just tweaking on my side. So if you guys want to see what were maybe some options, so there's a couple of different ways to play out. So here, I went down for a little bit more of an aggressive value. So their default out-of-box timing configuration is actually about 3,200 for the primary cast, right? And so here you can see we've got 6,000. I went ahead and tightened it up a little bit. So I've got actually 28. So that's showing you, hey, I can go even a little bit tighter. And I also can tell you that we do have a specialized SK Hynix profile in our Maxima series boards under our DRAM profiles. These are specially tuned screened profiles that we developed after analyzing a large number of the ICs that are specific to the topology of our motherboards. So these parameters will not work on a competitor's motherboards because our topology has been specifically tuned in a certain way. So us knowing that information, when we then put in these great quality DIMMs here, we can actually also apply these profiles, and then you can play around with maybe that and actually be able to do some interesting stuff. Like I can tell you, we can start to change up things like your TRAS, which if you can drop this down quite a bit, you can actually bump up performance quite a bit. So there's some nice little elements there that's one kind of possibility. Another kind of permutation right here is staying kind of within that bandwagon of going even a little bit higher. So this is 6,200. So here we're less than the, of course, native 6,400, but you can see I'm running at, of course, the primary CL30. So that's also, again, running a little bit of a tighter configuration as well. It's possible. And actually, I forgot to save it right here, but I do have it that I did also do was where I was able to take these DIMMs and I was able to get them running at 6600 MT as well. And I believe, I think primary timing was CL36, might have been CL37. I probably could have maybe tweaked it a little bit more. Again, I didn't have as much time because I was working on some different things. But again, you've got flexibility. So, you know, I just want to advocate. These are really nice DIMMs, great experience if you just want to drop them in, have a plug and play experience, right? But at the same time, if you want to be able to go in and spend some time working with the UEFI, taking advantage of our tweaking and tuning options, these DIMMs got some legs. So I'm always happy about seeing that. So I think that covers most of the items that we wanted to go ahead and run through, Mike, here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I do, if I can maybe drop in this right here and see if we can quickly show off the Fury, just software, so people can get a just quick perspective of that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just quickly see if we've got any questions.
Really good questions
that might have popped up in the chat right here.
So Zach had a few good ones.
So let's see. Shane's asking, so if you're gaming at 1080p or possibly 1440p, is otherwise don't bother for gaming. Personally, testing at 4K, there was less than one difference between 48 to 64. So I'll tell you, actually, from our testing, it's quite interesting. One is that different game engines, you don't want to use generalizations like this. And the reason why is what we've found is that some game engines that actually really do leverage multiple cores actually are more bandwidth sensitive. So an example of this is that some engines that are lightly threaded don't really hit the CPU a lot, and they tend to be very GPU bound. Other games that actually may rely more on more cores and might be more bandwidth sensitive can actually see a much greater difference. So we can actually find some game engines where you can load up memory and you'll see maybe, you know, 1% difference, 2% difference. And then we've actually found other game titles where actually you could see 10, 15% difference. So it actually very much depends, one, on the game engine. Also, you don't always want to look at pure averages. Actually, sometimes frame times and the minimum frame times have been things that we've actually seen actually have a nice noticeable bump up in performance as well. And we can also tell you that from our testing, a little bit of a gray area that isn't always covered by some media is ultra high refresh rate gaming, is where we see that there's actually even sometimes more benefits. So of course, us being, we were the first manufacturer to do 240, then 360, we'll be the first to release a 500 hertz monitor. We're seeing the value of actually pushing the envelope when it comes to DRAM bandwidth. So it really comes down to, again, your use case scenario. And this is where it'll be tricky, you know, as far as knowing which is the right value prop, right, as far as, you know, the benefit. But what I can tell you is we don't use our systems only for gaming. I tell you, one of the biggest performance improvements you'll see is in web browsing performance going into high, actually bandwidth-based memory. DDR5 has an explosively much better level of performance for actually web rendering performance in a browser than DDR4 does. And it scales really well as actually you go from like 52 to 56 to 6,000 to even higher. And it offers a really snappy experience when it comes to web browsing. So there are kind of interesting elements, is that I think as enthusiasts, we're not just gaming, we're doing multiple things on our system. So, you know, just want to be kind of mindful of that. Let's go ahead and see here if we saw anything else. I think, Mike, did you happen to see any questions?
Yeah, there's lots of really good questions.
You got a question here? Any chance for some white Fury Beast?
Absolutely. Stay tuned. Coming very soon. We'll be introducing some white modules. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. Celia is asking here, does the Maximus Z690 here support 6,000 MT on 4 slots? So I can tell you that I've tested it. It does work. Our board is technically capable of doing it, but what your limiting factor will be the IMC. We've found that in most situations, probably only about 60% of IMCs, roughly around that, could probably do 6,000 MT in a 4-DIMM configuration. Now, even in 4-DIMM, there's technical minutia to that, right? What is the rank and what's the density? Because 16 gigabyte versus, you know, a higher density configuration is, of course, going to complicate that even more. And then your actually percentage could go down. We find that the comfortable kind of breaking point for most users is actually about 5,600 to about 5,800. There we see a pretty good likelihood of success. It's still not over 80%. I would still say it's probably around the 70% percentage, right? So it's still quite good, but it's not as strong. 6,000 and 2-DIMM configuration is quite prevalent. Like I said, that's probably at this range over 75%, over 80%. So it's very, very good likelihood of you getting there. But once you go into the 4DIMM, it's possible, but there's no way for you as a user to know if your IMC is good enough. So you would have to try it out and see if it can do it. But I can tell you that the board is not going to be the limiting factor. The limiting factor will be the quality of the IMC. So that is something you have to keep in mind. And also, because the profiles, as you know, Mike noted for Kingston, if you went out and bought a Fury Beast kit configuration, you're only getting 2 DIMMs. So to do this, you're going to have to buy 4, which would be 2 sets of 2 DIMMs. Technically, that profile is not validated for that 4DIMM configuration. So it could also require you to manually tune certain elements to even get it to operate if your IMC can hit that. So there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind there, right? Sorry, did you see anything else there, Mike?
There was a question from Zach about with the upcoming AM5 chipset, will there be something equivalent to Intel XMP? And I can share because they've already announced it. AMD has Expo. Expo is going to be their spec for overclock, and Kingston will be introducing some Expo specific products to launch in sync with the AMD.
Here we go. What's XMP going to be called on AMD's X670 chipset?
EXPO, Expo.
So the cool thing there too, as I'll tell you, is that you know, we'll still be internally from ASUS perspective, we'll still also maintain our ASUS AMP technology that we've had, and also our ASUS DOCP technology, because we know that there's already a large number of XMP kits on the market that users may just want to use, as you guys are also ramping out the release of AMD specific kits and their profiles. So there will still be interoperability that will be available, but as always, there's some work that we have to do, because technically those kits are defined and validated on Intel memory controllers, Intel platforms. And while you can put them in, there's always some work that we have to do as a vendor, because the memory controllers and the platform are different. And those are just, you got to be realistic about that.
Absolutely.
So I think those were some great questions that we got in there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just drop in this kit here quickly. And Mike, if you happen to see any other questions, feel free to go ahead and jump into them. And guys, give me a second. What I'm going to do right here is see if I can just drop in this kit of Renegade into our system and show you guys the Fury software. And then from there, don't worry, we're going to still talk about, like I said, all the giveaway updates, the RYUJIN Wave, the ROG Evangelion Wave 3 updates. We've still got the PC DIY Builder Spotlight, as well as, of course, the introduction for those other new pieces of hardware that we're going to be coming out with. So let me go ahead and drop in these DIMMs here.
One question that I saw in the comments was from J340, has to do with whether or not the pattern profile of the RGB, if that stays in effect when you reboot your system. It does. So it will stay the same pattern and will only change when you go into the Fury Control software or the Aura software when that's ready to change that.
So one tip for you guys, if you guys are ever transitioning memory, that I'll let you know, then sometimes people make this mistake, is that right now I'm running these Kingston Beast DIMMs in there right now. So these are Kingston Fury Beast 4800, and the XMP profile was enabled. And some people will forget that they will go ahead and shut down the system and then drop in another kit of memory. And then when they put in that kit of memory, it locks up, or maybe something doesn't work right. And you have to think about, you've literally unexpectedly forced another kit of memory while you've told the system inherently what to expect. And so actually, ideally, the way you would want to do it would be one of two ways. One, reboot, go into the UEFI and load your defaults, reboot back into the operating system, and then shut down, because now the system has been retrained and it's working at the conservative, essentially, baseline. So it's ready to essentially be, hey, I'm ready to detect new memory. The other option is, what you can do right there is, where I just shut it down, but I have a motherboard where I have a clear CMOS button. So I can hit the clear CMOS button, clear the board out, and let it know, hey, don't keep any memory settings right now, and now put in a new kit of memory. And this is important, again, because if not, it would be expecting essentially to operate at this profile. And sometimes it could work, because of course that profile is not hard for this kit of memory to work at, because it's under what it was rated for, but it's still technically different. And sometimes if there was differences in one being maybe Micron and the other one being Hynix or something like that, it could act a little bit goofy. So ideally, you do want to reset your board to defaults before you install new memory. And then, of course, always do that with your system turned off. So now at the next stage, I'm going to go ahead and just flip the switch off to my power supply. and then go ahead and drop in those DIMMs. Mike is, yeah, I see you kind of shaking your head there.
That was the best thing I've heard yet, because this is a pet peeve in our own internal lab of forgetting to reset, right? Forgetting to set the BIOS back to defaults or clearing the CMOS between our testing. As you were saying, JJ, once you set a profile and then you change out the memory, the BIOS is going to already have been trained to work with that particular last gen profile. So you do have to go in and reset it. Now, sometimes you get this behavior of the board where the board tries to boot the new modules under the old profile 3 times before you'll get the message of saying, hey, something's changed, press F1, go into the BIOS, or F2, or delete, right? So yeah, thanks for saying that, because that's going to help with our tech support calls.
Yeah, no problem. That's just because I know I have to deal with a lot of users. So I try to kind of be mindful of always end user experience there. And another thing too is that when you're putting in sometimes these very high performant kits of memory, like what you would have here, is that some users may not be prepared for that the post process can actually be longer than normal. And so part of that is because there's the board has to go through a maybe more extended what's called MRC or training cycle. And so there's a lot of kind of little things that are going on. And it could even do what are called, sometimes people call them double posts, where it'll go through this cycling routine because the memory training is being reapplied, and then it will essentially come on. And so you don't want to kind of be surprised, be like, oh, something wrong. This is actually can be entirely normal. It tends to be a little bit more common, like I said, as you go to these more high performant based kits. When it tends to be kind of very simple kind of kits, it's probably going to be fast, much more streamlined. Also, you have a longer post generally if you have higher density configurations, which makes more sense. If you go to like 16 gigs that you're running versus 128 gigabytes, guess what? Your system will take longer to post with 128 gigabytes of memory than it will with 16 gigabytes worth of memory.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the switch back on there on my board there and hit my power button. It should come on there in a moment, and we'll have that nice, of course, little RGB. There we go. It's looking good. Those are some great looking DIMMs. Loved your guys' diffusion bar that you went ahead and put on there. So we'll wait for that to go ahead and train through in a moment, and then post up. We'll take a look and see if we can get into the operating system. We'll see if we have any other questions that might have come up right here in the chat. Let me see here. So will these modules come, Manuel's asking, will these modules come in 8, 16, 32, and 64? So generally, you usually don't see ultra high performance kits in 64 gigs, but DDR5 is already making a big breakthrough. In the past, even like DDR4, sometimes the densities were much smaller to get these really high performance kits. So it's impressive that you're going to be seeing really already high performance kit configurations in 16 and in 32 gigabyte configurations. But Mike, I think you can let everybody know, and I can bring up the product page here in a moment for the exact kind of pairings.
Yeah, that has everything to do with the density of the actual DRAM component itself that we use. So DDR5 came out at 16 gigabit density, whereas for DDR4, that it debuted with 4 and 8 gigabit density chips, and then later the density increased to 16 gigabit. For DDR4, 16 gigabit was, there was more depth to the chips, so they weren't really capable of getting to really high speeds. It really kind of pushed the envelope. But with DDR5, 16 gigabit is a great performing chip density. Next for us, they're going to move on to 24 gigabit and then 32 gigabit in the coming years to keep increasing the capacity of the overall modules. So our target entry capacities of 8 and 16 gigabyte. We also have 32 gigabytes built in dual rank. For a higher capacity module, such as 64 gigabyte in a single module, we're going to need higher density DRAM components. Again, those will have to be 32 gigabit density, or they'll have to be internally stacked to DRAM, which is something that doesn't really overclock. So it's going to be a few years out before we have those. But for today, for most gaming application, content creation, you can hit 128 gigabyte capacity in a 4-socket ATX board, no problem. And that's usually good enough for most of those applications.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for letting us know that. I think the exciting part though here is, again, this is one of the key reasons why the transition to DDR5 was needed, why is to be able to go to these higher densities. But really exciting is that we're not only going to have higher densities, but we're going to be able to have those higher speeds. So we get the kind of the best of the both worlds, where in the past, definitely when you always were going to higher densities, you were definitely seeing a significant reduction in terms of what was going to be possible in terms of speed, right? So that's a nice bump up right there. Okay, so let's see if we see anything else that's coming up right here. Okay, I think I just said, yeah, AO, I think probably just started training right there, so it should be getting ready to come up and pop up there. Oh, there we go. See, it's already popped up. So you guys saw, if you didn't see it, I did already load the XMP profile on there. So, you know, if we pop up right here, go over Task Manager, you guys can see it. Of course, I can bring up, you know, CPU-Z. But you can already see right there, 6,400. So it's went ahead and loaded up without any issues. And I think I have, hopefully, oh, wait, I don't actually remember if this system, I had two different demo systems. So let me see if I have the Fury software installed there. Okay, actually, it's on my secondary system. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and actually, I think it's downloadable right from the Windows Store. So it's a pretty quick little install. So I can go ahead and drop it in here in a moment. So give me 1 second, guys. And I will go ahead and load that up there. And let's see here. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit right now? Are you running a DDR5 configuration, or are you haven't jumped into it yet?
My personal rig is Cascade Lake X, so I wanted that for a big memory footprint with quad channel memory architecture. So I'm getting a lot of bandwidth for the type of work that I do at home, in addition to the gaming. So I haven't jumped on board with DDR5 just yet, but I'm certainly playing with all the DDR5 boards in our labs at Kingston.
So hopefully, yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things, right? Before in the past, the HD T-based platform, that was the only way to kind of get, you know, you were going over to, of course, more memory channels. If you wanted those big, dense memory configurations like 64 gigs, 128 gigabytes of configurations, well, that's one of the really cool things, right? Is that now with these newer platforms and their new robust memory controllers, we can now do 128 gigabytes on Z690, right? So it's like interesting how we broke past, you know, what used to be a kind of a limiting factor on the mainstream chipsets, and it was kind of reserved for the enthusiast-based chipsets, right?
Yeah, the high-end desktops are great because they bleed off of the server platform, so you're able to get more bandwidth out of the memory subsystem than you could on the traditional desktops.
I think that's right here, right? The control
there
software.
it is. Yeah, Fury Control. That's our application for customizing our Kingston Fury RGB modules. So you can download that as you see from the Microsoft Store, or you can do a direct download from.
Yeah, I think there's also a dedicated link right here, right? Where you can go ahead and just click on the ad. So I can click on it right there.
You got it. So this app, Fury Control, replaces what used to be called under HyperX Ingenuity. Ingenuity was the ecosystem for all the RGB control for headsets, keyboards, mice, and memory. And when we created the Kingston Fury brand, we have a new dedicated software that supports not only all of our new Kingston Fury RGB modules, but it also does support those legacy HyperX modules. So if you have an older system with a HyperX brand or RGB module, this new software will work with it. The great thing about Fury Control is we've added a lot of new features to it. And as we've introduced these new families of Kingston Fury, Renegade, and Beast RGB for DDR5, we're adding more patterns and we're adding more customization where you can control individual LEDs. See there, as you can see.
There we go. So you guys can see, and again, in the not too distant future, you know, we will have, of course, full integration with the ASUS Armory Crate. So you won't have to download this unless you're looking for the more specialized DRAM profiles that Kingston makes available. But I can't tell you these can run concurrently, so I don't have to worry about having Armory Crate and this software running at the same time. Later, of course, when the Armory Crate update comes out, we'll have full management options that you can do with an Armory Crate, or you can use our Aura Creator application for independent addressable lighting control. But in the interim, for sure, you can download this. And as you can see, you can go ahead and just quickly, it's nice one-touch option. So you can go from, let's say, Rainbow to Prism, spectrum, the dynamic and framework. And of course, if you want to go in and make more specific adjustments, like here, static, if you wanted to match, let's say, your color profile, you can go ahead and set nice little favorite options right there. You have your RGB channels available, independent options, which is nice for the independent, of course, LEDs, which you can see. I think it's probably 12 LEDs. Is that right? Yeah, 12 LEDs. So you can go and set a nice, really cool gradient. That's one of my favorite options, is setting a customized gradient, guys. So that's something you can go, and you can, of course, control brightness and speed. So looks like a nice, clean, robust utility. See, they're very simple to be able to access. I'm going to go ahead and set it back to the rainbow, because that's what I've got right now in terms of just my rainbow setup and vibe. But nice, easy to use utility. You can drop it in, and you guys will be good to go.
Thank you. Yeah, they shipped from the factory with the rainbow default already enabled, so you know it works okay. Then when you install the Fury Control software or the Aura, you can then disable the RGB lighting if needed. Our software has a low power mode. Otherwise, the new 12 LEDs are brighter than previous generations of our RGB products. So it's a really
you can tell you're right there. Those are they're quite bright. I mean, I've got lights in my room right here, and you can see they're holding up really well. And this is not at 100%, because you guys don't even set the default brightness to 100%. No. It's, I think, like at 80%. I tested, and it will even go brighter. So
yeah, they're
it's
super
even brighter
bright.
than that.
Yeah, so there's 16 patterns. There's about 5 of those patterns, though. You actually need all 4 modules installed in order to have them work. One of them is a countdown, where you can do an LED countdown from 10 on down to 0. So it does require more modules to see that effect, and as well as lightning and fireworks and things like that. But
that's very cool. Now, and that's of course one of the cool things where you guys are giving us the balance between aesthetics and also performance. So pick what works best for you. Tony, as I noted right here, why can't you standardize software? We actually are the #1 leading unified software in the industry with ASUS Armory Crate. So we work with all kind of leading partners, everybody from Cooler Master to Fantex to Kingston, right? They can all work within R1 software. Like I said, this just being brand new kits, so it's the reason why we have to take a little bit longer for our R&D team to get the integrated backend API support to be able to hook in, to be able to control that. But you will be able to, just like in the past with Kingston kits, you could go in and you could control it through Armory Crate. We will maintain that one unified experience. So there is no issues in that regard. And beyond that, just something that you may not be aware of that people do forget about is that one of the challenges of having actually a mixed RGB ecosystem is that every company can sometimes have their own microcontroller implementation that is managing the RGB. And this is why you can't simply sometimes have a works for everything solution, because literally one company could be using their own microcontroller, another company could be using another microcontroller, and how it's actually managing the addressing and so many other elements is code that's specific to that device. And so unless the literally company goes, okay, I need to not support just 1, but 2, but 3, but 4, how many microcontrollers and all that code, it can become exceedingly complex. This is even why, like in general kind of RGB lighting ecosystems like Philips Hue, who we actually do work with, say for instance, isn't compatible with like Govee, right? They both make consumer lights, but you can't put them together because they use their own kind of systems, right? And that's just kind of the nature of things, right? But that's where we try to incentivize, giving you a good quality experience by that. If you go with an ASUS Aura certified partner, it can all talk together within our one unified interface. And that will happen, like I said, by the end of Q3. You'll be able to do it with an Armory Crate. But until then, the control software, it's functional, it works well, it's stable, and you're good to go. And so I think that covers everything that I wanted to be able to touch on. Mike, do you want to kind of be able to go ahead and wrap up this little introduction to this awesome kit of memory here, guys? And if you guys are interested, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat again for you can pick this up. It is right now available. You can go ahead and pick it up directly from Kingston's web store. I'm assuming you'll probably be able to pick it up from Newegg and from some other channel partners in the future, right?
Yeah, we're available from global e-tailer and retailers. Kingston's the 4th largest module builder in the world. So you'll be able to find us in multiple channels wherever you're at. So availability is very good on DDR5 right now. Again, we've been the leading DDR5 module producer behind the 4 big semiconductors. So you shouldn't have any issues getting our products, and the prices have come down significantly with this market. So
very cool. Yeah, and again, if maybe the Renegade is a little bit more than you're looking for, you guys can take a look at the Kingston Fury Beast line, which between the non-RGB and the RGB is very competitive on the price. And I really like the range too that you're giving you from that 4,800 up to 6,000, right? So it covers a really good gamut. So, you know, and also density configuration is good there too, because it goes from 8 all the way up to 64, right? Where Renegade, right, goes up to 32, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us here, Mike. It's been fantastic having you here on the stream. You guys can, of course, make sure to go ahead and check them out on all their social channels, you know, Facebook, Instagram, of course, the Kingston website, and the link for their web store has gone ahead and been dropped in the chat. With that, man, thanks so much for joining us here on the stream, man. It's been fantastic to have you as the first guest here on the ASUS PC DIY hardware stream.
Awesome. Thanks, JJ. Thanks, everyone.
No problem, man. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right.
All right, guys. So thanks so much for joining us here. Hopefully you guys found that interesting and informative. So not only did we take a look at that memory, we talked a little bit about, of course, the entire experience when it comes to what you can expect, I think, as you're moving into higher speed memory. I know that we had a lot of different comments that kind of popped in there as we were going through a lot of stuff. So if anybody has any other questions that I missed, regardless if they were for Kingston related items or they were also ASUS related items, feel free to go ahead and re-drop those in the chat, and I'll do my best to go ahead and get to it when I can. So I will definitely try to cover those here within the stream. So with that, let's go ahead and get ready to finish diving into a lot of the other updates that we have here. The first one that I want to go ahead and touch on before I go ahead and touch on the giveaways and the ROG Evangelion third wave, which I know a lot of you are interested in, is I quickly just want to retouch again on new UEFI BIOS announcement. So we recently launched our 1600 series UEFI releases. And so if I head over here and show you as a reference, I'm going to go and use the Maximus Z690 Hero. You guys saw that those screenshots that I was showing you in terms of that nice high-speed DDR5 experience, that was actually already even proven on the current 1600 release. So it's a very solid release. This has been released pretty much for the entirety of our B660 and Z690 series-based motherboard, so DDR5 enabled solutions. If you go right over, you'll see that it's that new 1600 series release. And again, really the main focus here has continued to be to kind of refine and improve upon the overclocking experience for the CPU and for DDR5 memory. Really from 1400 series, it's already been quite solid and quite mature. But if you're running in kind of a little bit more specialized configurations, a little bit higher MT based configurations, definitely you want to be looking at running that 1500, if not now that's 1600 series UEFI release. And I will have screenshots and a lot of validation information coming over in the next week to show you really our confidence in the experience that you can have under quite a number of different configurations. I'll be showing 1 DIMM per channel. I'll be showing 2 DIMM per channel. I'll be showing 64 gigabyte configurations, 128 gigabyte configurations, a lot of different permutations so that you guys can kind of see what real world experience is. And as always, if you're looking for more information, make sure to check out the DDR5 Insights post that we do have in the ASUS PC DIY group, which I will be updating with some even newer information just so that you have a good sense of what is going on in there. J340 makes a note there that yes, the new UEFI introduction, as we talked about actually in last week's PC DIY stream, also introduces the base microcode support for Intel's next generation series of CPUs. Okay. Let me go ahead and just see if we have any questions right here that might be popping up. Hey, John's asking, what's up on AM5 motherboard? So we already did a previous kind of a stream announcement that talked about the initial series of AM5 boards that we're going to be launching. But rest assured, we've got a lot more coming up in AM5. Once we actually get to the embargo lift, we're going to have a full dedicated live stream that we'll be talking about all the boards. We'll go actually hands-on with the motherboards. We'll talk about all the features and functions, the designs, and we'll have you entirely covered. And again, if you're not part of the PC DIY group, make sure to join us there because you're going to get that information as soon as we have it and as soon as we can put it out. Beyond that, all I can confirm for you right now is that the boards look absolutely fantastic. Of course, we already have previews of them in the group for all 5 of the initial series that we've gone ahead and talked about, which include the ROG Crosshair, the ROG Strix, the Prime series, TUF Gaming series, and ProArt series. So 5 series that we're going to be having for AM5. Okay. You see right here, we got a question right here. Will the RYUJIN II 360 be able to show you the temperature in a GIF either at the same time or in a sequence? So that is something that we're looking at. As of right now, you can't do that. You can actually have multiple elements in terms of the presented. So keep in mind that the RYUJIN II comes included with an AIDA64 OSD license. So outside of the options that you have available within the Armory Crate software, it also has an AIDA64 OSD panel that can actually run multiple stats on the screen at the same time. So for people that want to have like GPU, DRAM, CPU all at the same time, you can do that. But you can also go within the software, and because I do have it right here, I can go ahead and show you the multi-point interface where you can set 2, 3, or even 4 input sources to be able to be displayed on the display. So there's a lot of flexibility between whether you use the OSD options that can be customized in AIDA64 or the preset options that we have within Armory Crate to be able to go ahead and display kind of all the information that you're looking for when it comes to the RYUJIN II. So let's get ready to go ahead and now talk about, I think, the third wave here for ROG Evangelion, guys. And then we're going to get into some giveaways. So give me 1 second right here, and we will go ahead and get into this. All right. So if you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about here when it comes to kind of ROG Evangelion, this, of course, has been our super popular, of course, kind of collaboration that we've done here to be able to take, of course, the amazing anime franchise, which if you haven't watched, it's such an, awesome, of course, franchise. And we now have the third wave of items coming out. So last week we talked about actually the week before last, we talked about wave 2. And now we've got wave 3 coming up. So with wave 3, what are we going to be having? Let's go through and see the items that we will have under wave 3. Okay. So wave 3 will be introducing the ROG Delta S EVA Edition headset. Okay. We will then have the ROG Rapture GT-AX6000 EVA Edition gaming router. And we will have the ROG RYUJIN II. So that's the same cooler that I've got right here next to me, but it will be, of course, the EVA Edition. And that one is also the aRGB edition in terms of having with aRGB fans. And then we will also have the ROG STRIX SCOPE RX keyboard. For the RX keyboard, we will have 2 versions. We will have both blue switches, RX blue switches, and RX red switches. So both will be available. And then we will also be launching at this time the apparel. So there will be actually 3 different apparel options. Here you can see we've got the ROG Evangelion white t-shirt. We've got the black t-shirt. And then we have a sweater or kind of sweatshirt based option. So I will go ahead and highlight all of the price points right here on these items, and we'll talk a little bit more kind of some of the kind of core features, functions, and specifications here. If you guys have any questions on this, let me know. As always, the way it works out when we talk about these kind of waves of releases is that as we get them into our distribution hub, it then takes a little bit of time to push them out in terms of the channel. So they will first be available most likely on the ASUS store, which will be first, and this will probably be within about 7 to 10 days, and then over about probably 12 to about 16 days, so about 2 weeks, you'll start to see them show up at our e-tailer partners. So that would be like Newegg, could be actually at brick and mortar partners like Micro Center, or as well as Amazon. Amazon generally takes a little bit of the longest in terms of getting these items skewed up. So I would say ASUS store first, then followed up by Newegg, and then followed up by the remaining of other kind of channel partners. So let's go ahead and again recap over here what we have in terms of the third wave. And we will go ahead and take a look at the pricing as well for each one of these models. So let me go ahead and load this up, and I will then in a moment go ahead and take a look at any questions that we might have popping up there in the chat. So let me go ahead and first pull this one up here. So this will be for the ROG Rapture GT-AX6000. Oh, sorry guys, give me 1 second here. Forgot this one is encoded in a different HEVC format right here. So I need to open up my, I think my VLC. Okay, very cool. Yep. All right. So there we go. And you guys can take a look at this really course sweet router. This is, of course, one of our Rapture series gaming routers. So this is a high performance based router, Wi-Fi 6 with 2.5 gigabit LAN networking. It does support also ASUS AI mesh, which means you could actually pair 2 of these together to be able to create an ultra large and kind of far reaching network. It's got that really cool, distinctive, of course, colorway, which is complementary to the rest of all of the ROG Evangelion based items. And the thing I love about it is it looks so cool, so distinct, but if you haven't made the upgrade yet to Wi-Fi 6, this is one of the best units you can get in terms of not only its speed, its throughput. It has a quad-core 64-bit SoC, 2 gigahertz, high-speed DDR-based memory, and this allows it to have a lot of functionality that we have built in for things like advanced multi-device handling. We have features that are coming in like WireGuard VPN support. You have what's called DPI analysis, which is just a technical way of saying that we can actually look at all the packets across your network. And when we're looking across all those packets in the network, we can then actually prioritize those packets and we can provide information. So if you want to see which device on your network is using how much bandwidth, whether that's from Netflix to YouTube to Steam, you can see all of that information. And if you also want to be able to prioritize your devices, so if you want to prioritize your gaming laptop, your gaming desktop, your Nintendo Switch, your Apple TV, it doesn't matter. You can go in and you can use our software to be able to prioritize your devices or your experiences. So all of this is actually available within our UI. And we also have a really advanced ASUS router app, which gives you lots of options built into the app to be able to easily kind of manage and control your network and environment. But it's a really cool router. I love the overall aesthetic on here and design on here. And again, if you're looking to be able to jump up to Wi-Fi 6, also take advantage of 2.5 gigabit connectivity, this is going to be a router for you. And I think it is definitely going to be a great foundation for years to come in terms of giving you stable and high speed experience for both your wired and your wireless connections. Okay, so that is going to be the first unit right there with the ROG Rapture GT-AX6000. Let's go ahead and next up, take a look here at, I think this is going to be the ROG Delta S EVA edition. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring that one up right here. And let me see here. Give me 1 second, guys. Delta S headset. And this one will be coming in at $239. So this is pretty much the same headset that I've got here. It's just the upgraded version. So this one is going to be a native USB-C based headset. Means that you can connect it directly to your Nintendo Switch, to your laptop, to your desktop. It has a built-in ES Saber DAC and amp inside the headset for really great tonality and detail across all your devices compared to an analog headset, which is dependent on the device you're connecting it to. Comes with 2 sets of ear cups, has our ASUS AI noise canceling technology built into it. That is tunable within the microphone. That is also a detachable boom mic, so that if you just want to use this as a cool headset, a pair of headphones, then you can go ahead and detach the microphone and have just a really nice lightweight headset that gives you great experience. Nice punchy bass, good clear mid-range, nice well-defined upper end on the detailing. And it is just an overall one of my favorite headsets within the lineup, our standard ROG Delta along with the ROG Delta S. Okay. Let me just see if we have any quick questions right there on either one of those 2 products before we get into the next items right there. Evangelion TV says that headset is so nice. Yeah, I would agree. It's beautiful. It is a fantastic looking headset. See right here, I think there was another question is, will the lineup be available in the South America region? I'd have to double check on that. If you can go ahead and tag me in the ASUS PC DIY group, I'll see if I can confirm. I have already confirmed availability for Mexico, but for the rest of Latin America, and it does very much in South America, whether you're talking about like Peru, Colombia, Brazil, because different distribution and different availability in terms of the quantity could vary. So it would be very much dependent on actually which country you're in within South America. So if you can tag me, I'll see if I can go ahead and confirm on what the availability looked like in terms of that. Okay. Bright is asking, when will the case be available? So we already announced the case in the second wave, so that's rolling out right now. So probably, I'd say about the next 7 to 10 days, you should start seeing that pop up. Okay. Zach is asking us actually about a different product, the PG32UQXE. That's going to probably be somewhere, I think, about maybe late Q3, possibly early Q4 timeframe. Okay. Asking about here, will you guys ever do a collab with the critically acclaimed, massively multiplayer RPG Final Fantasy? I think Square Enix in itself, Final Fantasy is one of those also super popular IPs, and I think could be an awesome opportunity for us to do collaboration. If you guys haven't submitted that idea in terms of a collab, that will be an option that you have available in the ROG Worldwide Evangelion giveaway. So make sure to go ahead and let us know that that's the type of collaboration that you'd like to see. we go ahead. I'm going to go to the next product right here. But let me see here if we got, will the RYUJIN II come in white? As of right now, there is no plans for a white edition, but if you do want white, we have the ROG STRIX LC coolers in a 240 and a 360 version that will come in white, and they look fantastic. So if you're looking for white, check out the ROG STRIX LC2. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the next product right here. This is going to be, see, we got talked about the Rapture. Let's take a closer look here at the keyboard. This is going to be for the ROG Strix RX, and so the RX is going to be different than our standard keyboards because this, of course, uses our RX optical switches. So with RX optical switches, the big benefit that you have there is that those are going to have outstanding smoothness as well as stability because they have an internal X stabilizer on them, and then they have a 4-point stem which really mitigates key wobble. So they're going to feel really nice and smooth. They feature, of course, an optical design which is entirely sealed, which allowed you to see one of the cool really elements of the actual keyboard, which was that it has essentially ingress protection. So what's really cool about the ingress protection? Well, the thing that I really love about the ingress protection is that it doesn't matter. You could, you know, you don't have to worry about kind of dust, debris, dander, any of those things getting on the inside of the keyboard because essentially it's sealed. And that's the reason why we showed that little cool demo there with the water, dust, debris, dander. Compared to a regular keyboard, very, very durable. It has onboard memory profiles, so you can have multiple profiles. You have hardware level macro support. It has a USB pass-through port that's on the rear. Of course, comes with premium PBT keycaps that are on there as well. And it's overall just a really high quality, great quality board in terms of its overall fit, finish, and feel. It does also have hardware level lighting control. If you use the function with the arrow keys, you can go ahead and adjust the RGB lighting patterns and modes, as well as the brightness level without using the software. But of course, this keyboard does fully support all the adjustment within the Armoury Crate software. So you can go ahead and tweak and tune everything in terms of your color profiles in there. You do have, of course, your dedicated function keys, your stealth key, which will automatically mute and minimize the system. And then, of course, the keycap puller that also comes included with this unit is also inside the box, which is a nice little kind of addition right there. You can see there the macro command, the commands there for the lighting level adjustment, the function lock adjustment as well there for your media keys, which are built into the unit. USB pass-through, I don't know if it'll show that off right there, but it's a super clean and really great looking keyboard. And again, the key feel, I'll tell you that this rivals really much more expensive custom keyboards where you have to usually get like a box switch with like really, really high quality PBT keycaps to be able to have a similar level of stability for the actual keycap feel because we have that internal X stabilizer switch and then that 4-point stem design. And right there is what you can see what I'm talking about is the actual internal X stabilizer, which really allows this switch to feel super smooth and consistent, you know, from key to key to key to key. Tanky Curious is saying, is there any difference between the switch besides the color? So yeah, we have two versions. You have the blues, which are going to give you that clicky sound. So if you like that clicky sound, then get the blues. If you get the reds are going to be kind of the quote alternate to what you would have with the traditional mechanical red-based switch. So a linear type switch. So we have the clickies or you have the linears. The choice is up to you. Okay. We got right here, the keyboard was better than expected. It's a beautiful keyboard. Right there, you can see the 4-point stem design and that centrally mounted, of course, design. One of the things that I really love right here, of course, you can see there's the IP protection, right? But that I love is going to be that the legends all on the keyboard, they're centered, right? Where on a traditional MX switch type keyboard, all the legends are offset. And so I love actually seeing kind of all the legends consistently present on the keyboard, where you see that they're actually center weighted. And also because we use a translucent housing, it's really even and consistent lighting around the entirety of the switch. So you get a really nice clean RGB lighting effect on the unit. Okay. The USB pass-through, yes, you can use. It's perfectly suited for using it with like a wireless adapter or like a with like a mouse or like a headset or a flash drive. It's USB 2, so it's not going to be the fastest. But if you just want to use it for peripherals, that's exactly what it'd be really good for. Is that you can go ahead and use it for peripherals. Okay. All right, so that is going to be the ROG STRIX SCOPE RX. And again, this one is going to be available in 2 switches. the RX Blues or the RX Reds. So choice is up to you in terms of which one you want to go with. Okay. All right. So let's see here. We've got we did the Rapture, we did the keyboard, we did the headset, and let's go ahead and now finish it up here with the RYUJIN. But we will also go ahead and just take lastly a look here at the apparel. So let me go ahead and bring up this guy right here. Yeah, okay, sorry. Had to see where I had that video stored. All right, and this is going to be for the RYUJIN II. All right, guys, and here you can see we've got the RYUJIN II. This is, of course, our high-performance, really flagship-level AIO cooler, 3.5-inch display. You can fully customize it with GIFs, images. It, of course, also has that integrated VRM assist fan, which is underneath the pump housing. The pump housing top cover, you can orient it both vertically and horizontally, so you can go ahead and change it up, so you don't have to keep it in one single orientation. You'll see that it does come included with 3 fans right there. Those are our special ROG optimized fans. So really good, nice CFM, as well as really nice static pressure performance that are available. And the unit comes included with a RGB fan controller in the box. So that allows you to connect all the fans, all the aRGB to that one box, and then that will connect to the motherboard, and all the control is done through that. And you could still then connect like one other device, like a Herculex or another fan or another type of device inside the box to be able to go ahead and give you even a little bit more flexibility with that. Okay, so that is going to be yeah, the RYUJIN II. And let me go ahead and see here. I think I have the images for the t-shirts, so let me go ahead and just quickly show those off to you. You see right here. Yeah, so let me bring these up right here. We got one. We got the first t-shirt, and the t-shirts will be $35. This is the black t-shirt. This is the front and the back design. Okay. And then I will show you the white t-shirt. And then we also have a sweatshirt. This one will see same price, $35. Okay. And then lastly, we've got the sweatshirt. And then I'm going to recap the giveaway, guys. So if you guys have any questions on the giveaway, actually any one of the giveaways, because I got 4 giveaways to talk about, then we will cover that there. Here's the sweatshirt. And this one is the one that's $39.99, so $5 more. Also has back design on there. Okay, so that takes care of everything for the third wave. Okay, guys. So again, third wave will include essentially the ROG Rapture, the Scope RX keyboard, the Delta S headset, the RYUJIN II, and then the apparel. Okay, that's going to be the third wave. The fourth wave will be the last and final wave, and that should include some other items like, let's say, the monitor, which hasn't been released as of yet. Okay, so hopefully that covers everything. Let me go ahead and just see, because I know that we always get lots of questions when it comes to Evangelion. So let me just see right here. John Boy saying is, I'm a t-shirt guy, so I'm digging these, man. I think that they're awesome looking t-shirts. They're pretty cool. Zach is asking, is there going to be a Xenoblade Chronicles collab? Never know. I can't tell you that we're going to be doing one right now. I've got the AXE11000 Rapture. It's freaking beautiful, man. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, it's a great looking memory right there. Excuse me, great looking router. When will be available? Like I said, these will be available probably looking initially probably about 7 to 10 days for the ASUS store. Possibly a little bit longer than that. And then I think a little bit broader availability in about, like I said, 2 weeks. So about 14 plus days. So you'll start to see them showing up in terms of other partners. So that would be like Newegg, Amazon, Micro Center, places like that. Okay. saying is that will Wave 3 merch launch at the same time or launch as they're ready? So those are, we're trying to release them all at the same time. So all Wave 3 items should generally kind of launch in about a similar time frame. But as you can see right now with Wave 2, there were some initial items that were in Wave 2, and then there were some other ones that were still waiting to come in. So there is a little bit of kind of differentiation that they don't necessarily all go live at the same exact time. Okay. Jeffrey, is there a firm release date for the VivoBook? Try to tag me. We don't talk about anything in terms of our system-related products like our VivoBook laptops, take for instance, but I can try to see if I can give you an update on that. So if you're part of our group, then feel free to go ahead and tag me there. Or if not, you can send me an email at pcdiy@asus.com. Michael, yes, I think we have sizes all the way up until, I think there's even greater than XL. There might be double XL. Usually there's going to be a lower quantity of those, but we have tried to bring in some additional bigger sizes for North America. So we should have those. Love the AIO. Very cool. Okay, I think very cool. All right, so if you guys have, again, if you have any other questions in there, feel free and let me know, and I'll go ahead and try to answer those questions as they come in right there. PSU, yeah, so the PSU is going to be in Wave 4. I know a lot of people are waiting there in terms of the Thor. Beautiful, right, in terms of that. So it's going to be one of my favorite options right there. Okay, so I think that takes care of that, guys. Let me go ahead and get ready to keep moving this along here. So let's go ahead and recap now some giveaways. We've got quite a number of giveaways right here to be able to go ahead and touch on. So these giveaways, let's go ahead and run through them, see what we've got going on, okay? So I think the first one is going to be, let me go ahead and see right here. We have a giveaway, which is a combination from ASUS, Intel, Newegg, and ENIAC. And this is going to be the Arcadegeddon PC build giveaway. So this is a pretty awesome giveaway that you guys have the opportunity to win. Right here is a full system. So this is going to be inclusive right here of a pretty awesome system right there that you can see. This is built around our TUF Gaming Z690 based motherboard. It's a very cool kind of mod custom build right there. You can see in this little kind of specialized kind of cabinet. And it's custom water cooled right there and has a really cool kind of design aesthetic. I love the kind of the hot pink in there along with the other kind of bright colors. You also are going to have a 3080 graphics card, which has been water cooled in there. Some G.Skill DDR5 based memory. So this is definitely a high-end system. At the heart of this is a 12900K. So we're talking about top tier gaming performance in this system with a really cool, distinctive design aesthetic right there that has been built by, like I said, our friends over at ENIAC PC. You can watch the actual full build video that we have right there, but 12900K, an ROG STRIX 3080 water-cooled, a Z690 motherboard in our TUF Gaming lineup. That's all inside of the Masterframe 700, a 1 terabyte Corsair MP600, 32 gigs worth of memory that's on this one. This should, excuse me, sorry, this should not be DDR5, but I think DDR4, an ROG Thor 1200 watt power supply, and also a full license copy for Windows 11. So all you got to do to get in on it is to go into the giveaway. You can see that you've got 19 days left. So make sure to get in on this giveaway, have your opportunity to win a full awesome gaming system. Okay, guys, we go ahead and drop this one into the chat. Do the controllers function? I don't know if the controls function. That would be pretty cool if the controls actually function on there. Okay. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at our next giveaway, which is going to be for the ZenBeam E2. This is actually our brand new mini portable projector, and we're doing a giveaway to be able to celebrate it here. So you can actually see it kind of set up in this little use case. It's a really cool little unit because it can actually be used through automatic adjustment to either do horizontal or vertical projection. You do have actually wireless mirror support that's available to there. There's an integrated battery life, which can go up to 4 hours. It has integrated 5-watt speaker, which has actually been tuned for some nice tonality and detail. There's a USB port on there too. So if you wanted to attach something like a streaming stick that uses power, you could go ahead and go that route. And it does also have an output line out connection. So if you wanted to maybe use that with an external bar, you could do that, or with also headphones. Really quite compact. So this is really nice for maybe having for a secondary display for something like a laptop or even like a Nintendo Switch. That could be actually a pretty cool little setup right there. But we're going to be giving away this guy. All you have to do is get in on the giveaway. You can see it's actually right now only about 2,900 people have got in on this. 9 days left. I would definitely say, you know, consider getting on this one. This one right now, it is available. It's on sale on Amazon. And I believe the price point is $300. So it's a nice little unit that we're giving away right there. Okay. Somebody's asking about the state of Windows 11. I can tell you I run Windows 11 on my primary laptop and my 2 primary desktops. No issues. It's stable, it's reliable, it's fast. There's a lot of really cool design elements to it. I would have no problems making the recommendation that if you're building a brand new system that you be using Windows 11, especially too with new functions that you have coming up with like auto HDR technology. There's better actually snapping support for multiple monitor configurations, upcoming direct storage technology support. It's also optimized and gives you the best performance for 12th gen series CPUs because of optimizations to the kernel. There's also a lot of optimizations in terms of the responsiveness system that it has, where it's actually more snappy. So there's a lot of things that I really do like about it. And like I said, I would definitely have no issues recommending it for my primary system build. All right, next up here, we've got, of course, the ROG Evangelion giveaway. So this is our worldwide giveaway, which I know a lot of you guys have already gone in on. And here we're giving a massive set of hardware away. So you can see right here, we've got an over $8,000 prize pool. We're giving away a 3090 edition graphics card, the 1,000-watt Thor power supply, and then an ARION EVA edition. That's one prize pack. Second prize pack is a 3090 and a Thor 1,000-watt. Again, those are such high-end prizes just in the first 2 prizes. The runner-up prize to me is still like a grand prize with a Maximus Z690 Hero, a RYUJIN II, and a Helios. I absolutely love that combination. And then 3 runner-up prizes, which are going to be the Delta S headset, the Curious Wireless, the ROG STRIX Scope, and the Scabbard, right? And then a secondary winner will be an ROG XG27 AQM monitor. So that's our high refresh rate 1440p monitor. And then the third winner would be a GT-AX6000 router. So some awesome, again, hardware. If you're not getting in on this giveaway, you guys want to do it. And this one is worldwide, okay? Keep in mind the other 2 giveaways that I noted from Newegg and from the ZenBeam are going to be regionally restricted. So you do want to keep that in mind, okay? All right, and let me go ahead and bring this up right here. Let me see right here. Give me 1 second, guys. And I think I've got another one here. Yep, we still have here the TUF Gaming a fan giveaway. I believe, yes. So we got one of the giveaway here. This is going to be TUF Gaming and ROG XF120 fans being given away. So you guys can just submit your information, click submit, and we have essentially 2 sets of pricing right here. Got the ROG XF120 fan, right? That's our high performance, static pressure optimized, airflow optimized fan, no RGB, simple, high performant fan. It's fantastic fan using a maglev bearing design. And then we have our brand new TF120 fans, which are launching, which are RGB, addressable RGB. And this actually, I believe, will be with the 3-pack. Yeah, 1 set of 3, so that you get the 3-pack. And that I think also includes the TUF Gaming aRGB fan controller. So either which way, you can get in on the pricing for that one too. So let's go ahead and drop the link in the chat for that one. And Brian saying, awesome fans. Yeah, they're definitely great fans and really nice option to be able to go ahead and integrate into your system, right? And I think last but not least, I've got one other giveaway with the Strix Scar giveaway. Let me see if I've got it right here. Give me 1 second if I can find it. I think it was from, you guys, let me just double check right here, guys. Give me 1 second. So I thought that there was still one that was left right here. Okay, I think I thought I still had this one in there, so not seeing it. Give me 1 second here to double check. And if we still have it here, then oh, yep, it's still here. Okay, cool. We still have it available. So this is one other giveaway, and this is actually going to be our Strix Scar Runner giveaway. So we actually recently launched the Scar Runner game. So this is a mini game that's inside of the ROG Citadel application. You can download it inside of Steam. So if you actually head over to Steam, we'll actually have a whole application, and it's a cool little kind of virtual environment where you can check out all kinds of new hardware that we have from ASUS and ROG, right? That's on display. And if you take advantage of the mini game and you spend some time to go ahead and jump in it right here, you can see kind of the cool little kind of world environment, and it's a cool little kind of game. You can play it, right? And once you spend a little bit of time in it, you have the opportunity to win a full ROG Strix 17 SE. This is an absolutely beastly system. This system right here is using the brand new Intel 12th Gen HX series processors. So it's pretty much about the fastest gaming laptop that exists on the market. It's an absolute beast in terms of the performance. And it's right now just launching. It's also going to be a pretty penny. I think that the SE model comes in, I think, at $3,500, if I remember correctly. Yeah, $3,500 for the SE model. But this unit is really built for a whole nother level of performance. With that HX series processor, you're pretty much almost talking desktop class CPU support with up to 65 watt TDP, 3080 Ti, up to a 360 hertz monitor. It has our Conductonaut liquid extreme liquid metal application, which was specially designed between us and Thermal Grizzly. That's on here. You can see just massive specifications on this unit, really built for just a whole nother level of performance. And we're giving it away, and all you got to do is just play some Strix Scar Runner and check out ROG Citadel. So if you're interested in getting in on this guy, then make sure to get in on this giveaway. It's got ultra fast DDR5 memory, PCIe Gen 4 support. It's really kind of very little that you would not get and want on this laptop if you're talking about all about kind of the high-end gaming performance. So let me go ahead and drop this one here in the chat for you guys. So give me 1 second to get the link for you. And here we go. All right, so that is going to wrap up all of the giveaways, which tons of giveaways that we went ahead and noted on there, guys. So you definitely want to make sure to go ahead and get in on them while you can, okay? Let's go ahead and just see if we got any questions that might have popped up in here while I go ahead and get ready to jump into our next segment. Raphael is noting, yeah, it's really a beast, definitely for sure. It's an absolute monster. I mean, the performance on that system is going to really rival high-end kind of desktop gaming systems extremely. And because it also has a mux switch, it can bypass utilizing the GPU and just output directly, working internally, and can bypass directly to go to an external display. So that if you want to get the absolute kind of best frame rate, lowest latency experience, you can go even G-Sync externally with an external monitor. So it can offer really the foundation for a very high-end system, but of course with that laptop form factor. Okay. Okay, very, very cool. All right, so let's get ready to jump into our next segment here, guys. We've got a lot of different new products to be able to go ahead and touch on here. So let's go ahead and see what we've got slated here. All right, let's see, we got those out of the way. UEFI BIOS, we got our giveaways. Okay, and let's go to, got over all the new Evangelion items that we covered. So we are good on that side. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some of our new products that we've got right here. We got coming in. So let me see, 723. And I think the first one is going to be the ROG RYUJIN II. So I won't spend too much time on this since we kind of already talked a little bit about the RYUJIN II with the AVA edition, right, that we have available. But we do specifically have a new aRGB edition that will be made available right here. So this will be with the ROG RYUJIN II aRGB edition. So we'll have the 240 and we'll also have the 360. This will be coming in at 240 or 290. And essentially this is going to be the same exact cooler that we have right now. Just the standard model comes with Noctua-based fans. It comes with Noctua IPPC fans. Those are outstanding in terms of their cooling performance, their tonality, and their overall high quality. But for people that want to go with RGB and don't want to have to replace the fans, this one will already come with ROG aRGB edition fans inside the box. The rest is all exactly the same. Again, either 240 millimeter radiator and then the 3.5-inch base display that you'll have. Here you can see the difference between the Noctua edition and then the, which is the standard edition, and then the aRGB edition. So Noctua fans or aRGB fans, it's your choice. You pick the one that you want. It does, of course, come with the 7th generation Asetek based pump design, and then it also has, of course, that integrated pump fan, which helps to maximize efficiency and cooling performance, and also gives you a little bit of additional surrounding airflow for the DRAM and for the VRM. You got that big 3.5-inch display. This is the included aRGB fan controller, which is inside the box, which gives you 4 PWM fan headers and then 4 3-pin addressable headers. So those are going to be, of course, the connection points for your fans. And then the control box itself connects to the motherboard via USB 2 cable, okay? And then you get our ROG AF120 12S optimized fans for solid airflow and static pressure performance. They even have little vibration pads that are on there, which are nice, okay? And this is just a little bit of close-up shot there of the actual pump housing, so you can see how it looks. Of course, pre-applied thermal compound. You don't need to be about replacing it. You're good to go. So that will be the ROG RYUJIN 240 and 360 aRGB edition. And you should probably be seeing this one availability probably early next month in terms of overall release, okay? Next right here, we're going to have the, let's see, ZenScreen Inc. This is going to be the MB. Let me go ahead and bring up some images for it right here. This will be the MB14AHD. So this is a pretty cool little product right here. This is going to be coming in at $370, and this is going to be a 1080p based 10-point touch, but also stylus input display. It has mini HDMI and also USB-C. So you could connect this to like a phone, a tablet, a switch, a mirrorless camera, you know, desktop, a laptop. You can do lots of different things, and then have that flexibility of having a portable display, something to take notes on, something to actually be able to draw on. You can do a lot of different things with it because it's a portable based display that has 10-point touch for scrolling, looking through different types of content, or also using as, like I said, note and reference. Let's go ahead and take a look right there. You can see that you have the ASUS Pen, supports up to over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. There you can see you've got, of course, your dual connection available for display out, right? And then you also have a headphone. You have mini HDMI. You've got your buttons there for on-screen touch support, and it has an integrated kickstand, which is really nice for being able to go ahead and adjust it. There you can see it's kind of already propped up by the kickstand, but you can even go a little bit flatter if that's easier for either viewing or for kind of using for note-taking or for drawing. And then all the accessories that come included inside, which you can see you've got the stylus, you have the charger, you have the micro HDMI and the USB-C. And with the USB-C, like I said, very convenient, very easy in terms of being able to connect that to the latest kind of generation of devices. So I'm definitely a big fan of the our mobile series displays in general, but I think this is a really nice addition for those that are just looking for a little bit kind of more flexibility within a portable based display where you don't just need basic visibility. And if you just wanted basic visibility, then of course we have you covered with more standard displays, which might just be no touch, no stylus input, and of course those would definitely be lower cost option. Let me go ahead and just bring up the page for this guy here. I can finish showing you here the rest of kind of the core specifications. This one right here is going to be a 1080p, is an IPS-based display on the unit, okay? And keep in mind that your device does need to support USB-C display alt mode if you're going to be using the USB-C connection. And then this unit does also have a threaded mount, which means that you can go ahead and place this like on a tripod or some type of stand if you want to have a little bit more flexibility in positioning it, okay? And you can also see here kind of some different orientation and workflow setups where if you want to use it in kind of vertical, kind of more of a portrait display versus kind of in the horizontal display, you have both options that are available to you. Okay. So that is going to be the ZenScreen Inc. MB14AHD. And there you can see a good example of kind of using it with that integrated tripod mount option. And this right here, the automatic rotation does require software to be installed to just keep that in mind. But as long as it's installed, as soon as you make the adjustment, you don't have to change anything. So it's very convenient. If you have something open and you were just to rotate it, it'll automatically adjust that for you. Let me just see if we have any quick questions right here before I get to my next product. Asking, I think if you're asking by Wi-Fi by chance, if you mean if that model supports wireless mirroring, that one does not. We do have ones that do support wireless mirroring. So if you want to be to wirelessly cast the kind of to the display, we do also have that as an option. So pretty much almost any feature you could ask for, we have that within our portable displays. We have ones that are ultra high refresh rate. We have OLED. We have wireless mirroring. There's a lot of different options. So we do have different configurations that are available. Castaway saying you could actually just buy a laptop. This would be a different functionality, right? Because we, of course, make touchscreen enabled laptops to give you the same functionality under our, VivaBook and ZenBook line. But this is actually for people that want to be able to have essentially that supplemental flexibility to attach to having a secondary display and then want other options in terms of working with that portable display, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look here at our next item, which is going to be the TUF Gaming VG248Q1B. This is going to be an update here in terms of the entry-level kind of gaming monitor. It's got pretty nice core set of specifications if you're kind of still coming in from the older series monitors where you might be maybe rocking 60 hertz or maybe like 120 hertz. Here you can step up to 1080p, 165 hertz. It has very low response time at 0.5 milliseconds for gray to gray. Does support VRR, supports a variable refresh rate support with FreeSync Premium that's going to be integrated in this monitor, and a standard 24-inch display, and pretty reasonable in terms of the price point, $170. So it's not super expensive. So it's really kind of designed to be, I think, that entry-level option to be able to take in if you wanted to be able to jump into 144 or higher refresh rate gaming still at 1080p. This is going to be using a TN-based panel. We have similar offerings that also are VA-based, curved, and also IPS. So of course we have all the options available for you. This is just a new item, so it's not like it's the only model that we have within this lineup. Okay. It is a little bit brighter than standard. A lot of people that are coming from a more entry monitor, they might have a monitor that might be only like 200 nits. This being at over 300 nits does give you a little bit of a nicer punch in terms of the overall kind of brightness for the display. The TN, though, is critical to allowing you to have that really super low level, of course, of response time, which you can see here, the lowest part of the panel being able to be measured in at 0.5 milliseconds. And one other really cool feature that I really like that this monitor does have is, let me just see right here, is that this does have our display widget software. So I know that you guys that are watching this stream, you know that I've talked about this function before. So let me go ahead and see if I bring it up right here. I'm a big fan of this feature that we have. And so this is actually the display widget software. I don't have the monitor connected right now, but it's in Windows, and you can go in and you can adjust things like your brightness, your contrast. You can enable things like shadow boost. You can change to different profiles like FPS to RTS to user modes. And you can even do something that's called App Sync, which lets you actually change the profiles based on the applications you launched. So if you jumped into Forza, or you jumped into Apex, or jumped into Ori the Blind Forest and then used your web browser, you could go from sRGB mode to like racing mode to like FPS mode, and you wouldn't have to make any adjustments by physically touching your monitor. You could actually just create profiles and then have them switch automatically when the EXEs are launched. So it's a really cool function that we have built in there with display widget. So I'm a really big fan of that functionality. Okay. Let's see. Suman is saying display widget is really good. I need to control formatters and I can just do it on the screen for each one. Yeah, it's just much more convenient than physically having to touch buttons on a monitor, right? It just makes it so much easier to be able to go ahead and switch between different adjustments and things like, you know, changing your brightness or contrast, or going from like an sRGB mode for like photo viewing or like reading, you know, a website, to then maybe going to a profile that you've tuned more for a game, I think is really, really nice and very usable. Sabby says that as for TN, the color is going to be washed out. Actually, I would say that modern TN, you know, 8-bit, through AFRC can actually have very good color quality. Keep in mind that like the 360 hertz that we had and prior panels have actually even been using later generation TN. But again, we have IPS if you want IPS, right? But just because you have TN doesn't mean the colors are going to be washed out. Most of the time, you're still looking direct on. The main difference is going to be in color gamut. TN won't generally have the same color gamut performance that an IPS would, but you can have TN that can still faithfully reproduce 100% sRGB, which is what you're generally gaming at and what you're looking at in most content in Windows. So definitely, you shouldn't say that the experience is going to be poor, because that's not necessarily accurate. Really what it comes down to is, what do you want? Do you want really big bolt? Do you want really large color gamut for super wide level color reproduction? Then IPS is going to be more favorable, right, than TN. But for general gaming, and especially at that low response, even the best IPS aren't going to give you that level of response. So, there's always going to be a balancing act between kind of the features, the functions, and the specifications right there. Galis is asking, is there any talks about making fans lock together? Yeah, we've talked about it internally. We are looking at it as possibly some type of option for our ROG edition fans. But with the TUF Gaming aRGB fans, we decided not to do that because that would have made the fans more expensive. And we wanted the TUF Gaming fans to use a very high quality premium bearing. It's actually better than the bearing that's used in the LAN Uni fans. But still giving very good static pressure performance and good airflow performance, but not making it so expensive that it would also be inherently a more expensive fan. So we are looking at a number of different aspects in terms of offering, I think, a kind of a daisy chain type of experience, but that's not something that we have, ready to disclose at this time, what we're going to be doing for the ROG RGB edition fans when we release those, okay? Let me see if we have any other questions right there. Hi, hi, all the way from Bulgaria. Happy to have you here, man. Thanks so much for joining us here for the stream. Okay, let's see here next. Got the TUF Gaming fan, and then we got another display right here, and this one's going to be with the XG256Q. So somebody that was talking about, hey, TN is maybe not what I want. Okay, well then buy this one. This is IPS. So here you're going to see that you're able to go up to 24.5 inches, so a little bit larger, still 1080p, but the latest generation fast IPS-based panel with an even higher refresh rate. So the base is 144 and with overclock up to 180 hertz, 1 millisecond gray to gray, and also even supports a brighter display, right, with up to a display HDR 400 specification, which even if you don't do HDR, you're getting a brighter panel. So it's going to allow you to have bold, bright, punchy dynamic experience. But this also introduces some cool functionality in terms of the overall design. So one, you have, of course, the base design, which is really clean, nice, very thin bezels, so thinner bezels than you have on the TUF Gaming monitor. There's also going to be more flexibility where this has tilt, pivot, rotate adjustment flexibility in terms of the ergonomics, but it does have an integrated tripod mount at the top. So if you wanted to actually attach like another monitor, like one of our portable displays, or if you wanted to put in like an accessory light, or if you wanted to have like a webcam or a mirrorless camera, you could attach different types of items to the top of the monitor because it actually has a threaded mount on top of it, which is pretty cool. You, of course, have all our gaming-centric functions, nice amount of connectivity there, dual HDMI, line level out for either speakers or headphones, DisplayPort, and then also USB. Hub, right, which allows you to go ahead and connect things like wireless adapters or high-speed flash drives, keyboards, mice, whatever you want there directly through there. You're all good to go. And let me actually show you right here a little bit of a close-up shot in terms of the standard images on this one. And this one steps up again, a little bit more expensive, but of course you're going to get more color gamut, right? And you're going to get a brighter display and also that latest generation of fast IPS, right? So this one is quite a bit of a jump up from the more entry-level monitor that we were looking at in terms of the, in terms of the TUF Gaming display. So let me see here if I have the secondary images. Do I have them right here? Ah, yes. Okay, cool. I have them. Go ahead and just extract these really quick here, guys. Okay, cool. And so let me see here. Does this one also have, I want to show you guys the desk mount kit for this. And I think some of you guys are already aware of the desk mount kit. Yep. Okay, here we go. Perfect. So here we can see, of course, the monitor, all black design. So this is our newer ID design that we have in terms of the display. And there's, of course, all your physical connections, right? Again, DisplayPort, HDMI, the power, and then the line level output, output, which can be used for headphones or speakers. And there's that top mount tripod, right? Mount support, which you have. Like I said, you could put one of our portable displays on there, or you could go ahead and put like an accessory light or other items like that. And this is the desk mount kit. This is an optional accessory, but it is compatible with this monitor right here, where you can see that you can go ahead and mount this so that if you wanted to have the most space, you can mount this directly to the actual table, and then you have a very clean kind of setup, right? Which looks really, really nice. And as I noted earlier, this one compared to the TUF Gaming also gives you the ability to do full either portrait or horizontal orientation for the display. So it's entirely up to you in terms of kind of how you would want to set up the monitor. And this one, as you can see, will be coming in at $250 and you'll be good to go. Also keep in mind our warranty policy for our monitors compared to many competitors is generally greater. Many companies only offer a 1-year warranty on their displays. We have actually up to a 3-year warranty. There are some other details within that. We also have an openly described zero bright dot policy. LG and Samsung do not even have an openly described zero bright dot policy for their panels. And we also have our ASUS Rapid Replacement program too for our monitors. So we definitely think that not only from the value add from the feature set and specifications, but also even from a warranty perspective, there's some really nice elements to go along with that as well. Let me just see here. I know this is a random question. So Michael asked, is this a random question? Have you guys ever thought about making a headset? We have actually done it. We have made actually some headsets in the past. We haven't done one recently. It's just been something that hasn't necessarily been, there's been as much traction. And I think for the best integration and experience, the kind of the default options that are out there have probably been really the proven best options that people have wanted to adopt. It's something that we're always kind of consistently evaluating whether or not we'll make another HMD headset. It's it's TBD. I would say never say never, but we have actually made some in the past. I have seen a few articles saying that ROG Swift had launched in other countries. Are we getting close to a USA release? Getting close. We're getting there. So we're doing a little bit of a test rollout just because logistics, there's always a little bit of differences. They haven't really rolled out to other countries. It's pretty much only available right now in China. But yes, the ROG Swift monitors, both the 42-inch and then of course, the 48-inch will be released in North America probably in around late August going into September timeframe. So Q3, Q4 is when we're going to be looking for the launch for those ROG OLED Swift displays. New Thor, we've already gone ahead and launched the new Thor, the 1000 watt. The next model will be the 1200 watt, which is probably being maybe about like a month and a half. Then the 1600 watt, maybe around similar time frame, and then last will be the 850 watt. Any ideas about a trackball mouse? Something that we've discussed. We are already coming out with the brand new the ProArt series mice, which are kind of mice that are designed more for kind of productivity and have a little bit of a different ergonomic design. So that might be something you want to check out. But as far as a specific trackball edition, no, nothing immediate right now. Okay. And those are certified for PCIe Gen 5 support. Okay. Okay. Very, very cool. Hey, Mike, no, I'm still going to try to see if I can maybe squeeze in a couple of pieces here for the builder spotlight. It's been quite packed in. So it's just been a lot of different things going on. So we'll see if I can go ahead and squeeze it in there. All right. Last but not least, we have some last updates right here where we also have our mini PC coming up. So this will be the mini PC. This will be our PN62. So the PN62, this is going to be, excuse me, not PN62. It should be PB62. Let me make a quick adjust to that. There we go. And this is going to be a compact, high performance based mini PC where you can see right there, you've got your USB-C, 4 USB-A. These are going to be 10 gigabit ports, and then your microphone and headset connection right there. A nice venting that's built into the overall body and the design here for this unit. It does allow for multiple orientation as well as multiple displays. So you can see DisplayPort, and HDMI. So 3 displays can also be arranged there. 3 more USB type A ports on the back, integrated Wi-Fi 6 that you have on the unit along with Bluetooth, DC barrel jack connection, and then also your Ethernet. And you can see you can go ahead and orientate this unit in either a horizontal position or in a course vertical position. And it does also have the ability to have VESA mount support, so you can go ahead and mount this onto the back of the unit. Now, as always, when it comes to our mini PCs, we have kind of different configurations to where we have bare bone models and then we have non-bare bone models. And what is fundamentally the difference? So a bare bone model means that you have the ability to kind of define the specifications for that unit, meaning that you can go ahead and essentially put in your own memory and your own SSDs and then install your operating system. And then we have other models where we have it pre-installed with memory and an SSD and an operating system. This one right well here will be featuring 11th gen series processor. It's quite performant, 11th gen, and we also even have 12th gen mini PCs coming. But the processors here are generally even faster than what you see on the AMD side for the U series processors that we have in many of our units. H series would be probably comparable, but H series would still be a little bit slower when it comes to the overall single-threaded performance. So if you're looking for more desktop productivity, these are going to be really kind of the best performant models in terms of the overall experience. They also meet a very high level of mil-spec validation that we have on these units as well. So really nice and flexible in terms of the overall kind of features, functions, and specifications that you have here on this unit. Let me go ahead and bring up here, as you can see, the pricing, $760. This will be for the pre-configured base model. And let me check here what the, let me check right here, the configuration that one is. I'll tell you the SSD and the memory. And again, if you're looking for the bare bone model, the bare bone model will of course always be cheaper because that means you can add your own SSD, your own memory configuration, and your own operating system. Okay, so that will be a 760, which will come with, of course, the 11th gen series CPU. And this is a higher than wattage standard series CPU than you have with more entry-level offerings. A 512 gigabyte SSD, and then it will have the 11400 series CPU. So 11400, that's going to be, like I said, from the Rocket era level. Nice integrated graphics performance from that unit too, with 4K decoding, matrix-based display support too for multiple displays. That's up to 12 threads and up to 4.4 gigahertz on the boost, and 65 watt DDP. So a lot of the mini PCs sometimes are like, 15, 25 watts. So they're much more like low laptop based performance. But here, this is pretty much like CPU desktop class performance, where you have a 12 thread, 65 watt, 11th gen series CPU. Okay. So that is going to be the PB62. Okay, guys. So that is one model. And then let me see here. Next, we've got another model here for a mini PC, which is going to be the PL63. PL63 is going to be where we've gone ahead and noted this model a little bit in the past. And this one will be coming in at $659, but there is also more entry version that we have that goes down to even below that. Again, bare bone or different configuration. There's one that's like $550. This one actually can support 11th gen series CPUs, but also have actually Thunderbolt 4, Wi-Fi 6, 2.5 gigabit LAN, and even PCIe Gen 4 SSD support as well for this model. So this model's quite flexible in terms of giving you a lot of features and functionality. So if we take a look at this unit, also high performance metal housing, very compact. Again, PCIe Gen 4, which has really been reserved right now for the mini PCs, that not many mini PCs have that. Ryzen's generally only going to be limited to Ryzen PCI NVMe Gen 3 SSD based support. So on the Intel side, for the 11th gen or even the 12th gen, you get Gen 4 along with generally even faster IO. So here, this unit can support 10 gigabits, but also even Thunderbolt 4 connectivity, 2.5 gigabit LAN, and Wi-Fi 6E. And of course, you can still customize the DRAM and the SSD configuration. You can see right here, the more entry-level model starts in at $550, but for the model I'm talking about, will come in a little bit more at $659, and I'll note the specific elements of its configuration. But you can see right there, 10 gigabit right there, USB-C, then more USB Type-A, the audio jack, power button, full metal shielding, 2.5 gigabyte LAN, and then display, and display. So all of these support display configuration, and this one supports display configuration. So 4 displays can be run from this one unit. And then you've got 2 more Type A, your barrel jack right there, and then of course, your high-speed Wi-Fi that's going to be present on this unit. And then I think actually, if I remember right, this one may support, yes, this has our new active airflow design fan that we implemented that actually has dust channels in there, which actually collects like dust, debris, and dander, and will push that out of the fan. So that helps to actually maintain the long-term reliability. It's actually a really cool design that we brought over from our laptops and we've put into our mini PCs to just be able to go ahead and extend the overall kind of the performance in the feature set. Here you also are going to have the USB PD input support on this model. So the cool thing with the USB PD input support in terms of this model is that you have the flexibility that if you have one of our monitors that can do like 80 or 100 watts out to the mini PC, you could actually power the mini PC from the monitor. So again, you could mount this to the back of the monitor and have a single cable experience. So it's going to be very, very nice and kind of integrated within that. That PL63 will be let me see, 8 gigabytes of memory and a 512 gigabyte SSD will come on that 659 model. And the last mini PC that we have is a very cool model. It's going to be our fanless edition. There'll be 3 models in terms of this. And actually, just let me put the price right there to just show the range. So this will be 283 to 305 in terms of the actual price point for this model. So this is going to be the most compact unit between essentially all the ones that we have right here. And the cool thing about the PN41, this unit right here, is it's super compact, but it has the latest generation Jasper Lake series CPUs right here. So either the N4500 or N5100, and it's purely passive. So it's fanless based design, super low power consumption. You can use USB-C power, right? So again, you could power this from like a monitor or from like even like a power bank, right? But you still get nice things like 2.5 gigabit connectivity. You still have the ability to customize the SSD, M.2 SSD, Wi-Fi 6 built on board, and still actually nice I/O specifications that are built onto this unit. So I'm a big fan of this unit for a very compact base, like little desktop productivity, maybe a SAN NAS type box, emulation box, maybe a VMware type box. There's a lot of interesting kind of little scenarios for these compact solutions that we have available here. And generally in the past, these type of chipsets and CPUs were much lower in performance, but they've actually been pretty capable in terms of the more recent generations, even when you go to these more basic or more kind of entry-level offering. And again, this one has that USB PD power delivery input, which is pretty cool too. So let me just touch on here the configuration for that. So the $218 version is no RAM, no storage, 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6, and that comes with the N5100 series processor. 269 would be the N4500 processor, 4 gigs of RAM and 120 gigabyte SSD, and you still get Wi-Fi 6 and 2.5 gigabit LAN. And then 305 would step you up to that same configuration, but jump from the N4500 to the N5100. Okay, and again, those processors are going to be the processors which are generally going to be the most kind of power efficient based processors that Intel offers. So this is under the Intel Celeron line. These are, like I said, Jasper Lake based processors, 4 cores, up to I think the burst frequency something like 2.8 gigahertz, 6 watts. So very, very kind of power conservative, but they're little capable platforms, especially like I said for focus use. Some nice offering right there. All right, so I think that probably wraps up all of our new hardware introductions. I want to go ahead and just double check here and see if we've got any questions here before we get into the builder spotlight and touch on a couple of cool builds right here, guys. So I know that we've talked about a lot, so give me 1 second right here. Just see if we've had any questions that have popped in there. I need a new monitor so bad, still using 1920 by 1080. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options that we have at 1440p. I really like the TUF Gaming VG27 series. 1440p, we have about 3 different ones that have a varying range of price point, but 1440p, high refresh rate, and IPS, that's a really solid offering that I would take a look at the TUF Gaming VG27. Of course, we have the ROG Strix monitors that you would pay a little bit more for, but if you want to make the jump up to 1440p, I would check that out. Steph saying, so PN41 for HTPC? Yeah, you could definitely do that. The integrated iGPU that's on that Jasper Lake would still be able to fully decode 4K video. So you could do it for 4K video decoding. You can also do, like in Windows, if you use the Windows Inbox application, which a lot of people don't know that for Netflix decoding actually can require certain types of authentication. So the actual Netflix experience from your browser as opposed to using the Netflix app is actually different. They changed the resolution support and the audio matrixing that gets actually sent over. So actually any one of the PCs that we've talked about would be good options there for, I think, something if you want to do like video streaming using like Hulu, the Netflix app, or anything like that. And so those are going to be options. I think the PN41, the PN51, the PN52, those are all really good options for that. Is if you're looking for something that's like more HTPC based, but definitely the PN41 being super compact in terms of the power envelope. Yeah. And you could still do 4K. As long as you don't do a lot, that's where Jasper Lake, I think, is a little bit more challenged because it's only a basic 4-core, more entry-based CPU. It's not the strongest at multitasking a large number of applications, but focus single applications, no problem, including even 4K video decoding. If you want to run more multiple applications, you probably want to step up to at least something that has like a 15-watt class CPU, whether that would be Intel or AMD, and we make both of those under the PN line. Lex is saying, can't wait for the PG42UQ. Yeah, that's going to be a really awesome monitor. We've got a lot of really cool details, and I can tell you the speakers on that unit are awesome. They're the best speakers that we've ever put on a monitor. Going to be pretty sweet right there. Yeah, Joseph says 65 watts is a good selling point. No point to being restricted to 30 watts. Yeah, so that's a big difference. Like in our mini PCs, like I said, that's the reason why we have so many different models, because we got units that go all the way down to something like 6 watts, and then we're going to have models that go up to way all the way like something like 65 watts, which would be what you would find in the high performance laptop or even like on a desktop. And that really does change the performance expectation of what is possible within these mini PCs. Michael saying the screen on the processor is so cool. Can you put any image or video on it? Yeah, this one, I can change whatever I want. I can put videos, I can put GIFs, I can put static images, I can put on the stat screen display. So as I get ready here, guys, I'm going to get ready to jump in the PC DIY Builder Spotlight in a moment right here. But let me just show Michael here. I know probably most of you guys are already kind of seeing this, but let me see if I can show him. Let me go ahead and go right here. So go into the desktop. And if I go into the Armory Crate software, sorry guys, give me 1 second right here. And sorry, keep changing right there. There we go. Okay. Typing upside down. There you go. Okay. So if you open up the actual software interface, here we go into Armory Crate. You can go into your devices, and then you can see right here we have all our devices. So I can go to RYUJIN. There's actually 2 different stat interface options, but you can see right here, you can go and you can select like hardware monitor. So here under the hardware monitor, I could select to have 1 info, 2 info points, 3 info points, or even like 4 info points. And then you can see you could change these. You could map these to all kinds of different things. So you can do frequency, voltage, fan speed, AIO information, even including liquid temp. This is a new item that we just added. We didn't used to have liquid temp information. So if you want to be able to have that right out there, so you can see like here, I want maybe my frequency, I want voltage, and I want temperature, and then, then I want, AIO info, right? So those all could now be mapped there. So I can now go to apply that, and I could have that information right there. Or you can go here, like I said, image and animation, or you can go to custom banner, and then you could put in your own banner. And then image or animation right here, you can go ahead and set these up. And you can also do like a slideshow. So like right now we have this default, but let's say I want to go ahead and add another one right there, right? I could go here, add this one, and then add this one. So now it actually will cycle through all 3 of those. So if I apply that, then those will be all good to go. And the other cool thing too, of course, is that you have more flexibility that if you go through the AIDA64 software, AIDA64 will actually give you custom options to be able to have different stat readouts. So let me go ahead and just show you quickly what that looks like. Yeah, no problem, Michael. Glad I was able to go ahead and show you actually how it looks like. And you can put in your own custom GIFs and animations and things like that. So, but right here, let me see. If you go to AIDA64, because I don't have the special edition version installed right there, so I can't show it to you. But you can see right here, you can have these little stat displays where you could have things like FPS, you could have your GPU clock speed, your CPU clock speed, your DRAM clock speed. So you can have those customized, and we already have templates that we worked with AIDA64 to have an option right there. But you can see right now, you see how like the stat panel, it's different on this model now than what it is we had before, where now it's actually cycling through those three, as opposed to originally it was just showing you off that one. Okay. All right. Very, very cool, guys. So let's go ahead and jump into the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. It might be a little bit of an ad hoc right here, guys, because I know I downloaded them, but I didn't fully sort through all of them. So let's see what we can go ahead and do. We'll do maybe about like 3. I think we can fit in 3 because we're running a little bit long today. But as always, I love being able to show off what we're doing in terms of the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. So let's go ahead and see who we've got here first. Let me see right here. I don't even know. I had like 25 submissions that we got. So there was quite a bit of submissions that we got in for the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. Okay, let's go here first with Zachary S. Christopher. All right, let's go with this one. And I know we've got one from Sniff that I want to show off that he submitted. He submitted one of his throwback builds, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is too good to not make sure to include. So let's go ahead and take a look here at our first build. Okay, so we can see right here, we've got actually, this is a Z690 based system. I can tell right off the bat, this is actually the same board that I've got right here. So you can see it's got the full anime display matrix. It's got the RYUJIN II. It's got our ROG STRIX graphics card in there as well. And they went with a two-tone color setup, which I think is pretty sweet. So I'm actually a fan of color blocking. I like the white and the black kind of design aesthetic. I think it's cool because white gives you that reflective tendency, but the black gives you a point of contrast, and it also helps to pull in and kind of isolate colors a little bit. So it gives you a little bit of a different vibe, because here you're not seeing that light kind of splash onto the adjacent components. So it doesn't always have to be, white on white, right? It can be white on black right here. And also it gives you a little bit of different vibe with the RGB. The streamer cables are implemented pretty well. Sometimes I like or prefer non-streamer based cables, as these can also be a little bit harder to kind of balance and lay out. I think also here we have already the RGB. So I don't know, maybe I might have gone with a right angle connector, pulled that through the back, and then maybe just had one streamer, but it's cool. It's nice and it's cleanly done, well implemented. It does look like they forgot to maybe connect the RGB cable here, or they picked red, but they had the other items going in RGB. So I think that maybe here the Zachary might need to double check on his ARGB cable for the Thor to make sure that's all synced up. But otherwise, it's cool, it's clean, it's well executed. I like the actual overall layout. The color scheme's nice and on point. I like the customization right here with the RYUJIN II. He's even got the DIMM.2 add-in card, which is cool for the SSDs. He's got the little stat readout information there on the live dash panel, which is cool. So that's nice. He's got his full little setup right there too. He's got the Strix Flare. This is the actual latest generation. So he's got the Strix Flare 2 Animate. And then that has, of course, the little cool stat readout, which is pretty cool. He's got his ROG Chakram, same mouse that I'm using right here. Great minds think alike. He's also got the Ball TS. And then, of course, he's got his Xbox controller there to be able to go ahead and get his gaming on. And you can see right here, he's got the Gundam Edition chassis, which is pretty cool. I love the straps on there, and I love the overall design that we took there with the actual mech, and the mech is there on the front. It looks really cool. And he's also, actually, that's cool. He's using the DAC. So this is the ROG Quad DAC that comes with the Extreme board. This is the Clavis. You can buy this by itself. It's, I think, $130, but it comes included in the box with the Extreme base motherboard. So he's actually using the DAC right there for his headphones. Nice clean cable management all laid out right there. Overall, it's nice, clean, well executed. Nothing to negate on here, right? Like I said, about the only thing is maybe tweaking that for the cabling, for the cabling, making sure that he's got his RGB going on right there. But that's about the only thing. Otherwise, performance for this system and the overall layout is clean and it's well executed. Let me go ahead and bring up his submission form. And let's go back here to his his system here. I'm sorry, so we can go back to his, let's go back to that first image. I think that first image is probably the best image. Okay, and submission form. Let's see right here. Okay, so this is from Zachary S. Christopher, and not his first build. Does the build have a theme? It was Gundam and ROG. 3 words to describe it is RGB, ASUS ROG, and Gundam. And then does build have a name? Yes, Baratupos. And then in terms of the core hardware right there, we've got a Core i9 12900K. That's an RTX 3090. Of course, ROG Strix Edition white for the graphics card. And then a Z690 Maximus Extreme board. He's got then 4 DIMMs. Then running, those DIMMs are 6400. So I'm pretty sure that he's not running 6400 4-DIMM configuration. So I don't know what he's probably running those DIMMs at. My guess is maybe if he's lucky, somewhere between 5600 to maybe 6000 MT in a 4-DIMM configuration, but that depends on the quality of the IMC. Then a Thor 1200 watt, the RYUJIN II, the Gundam Helios Edition chassis, and then he's got the LAN Unifans SL120s, 7 of them, and then LAN streamer cables, and then of course the streamer 3x8s. So overall total build for the total budget for the build is about 8,000. Most proud of the overall Gundam theme and the GPU, CPU, and the RAM. Anything you would maybe change about the build is the cable management could be better on the backside, but you can't see it, so I wouldn't worry about it. 6 hours about the overall time frame to put it together. He pretty much uses it for gaming, so some Dying Light, some Resident Evil Village, some Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and some other games. That's pretty cool. His favorite function or feature is that he loves that the software is all tied together to allow him to kind of easily manage everything. So he can go to Armory Crate to be able to check his stats, monitoring, AIOC, tweak and tune all his RGB lighting values and everything about that. Nice build, man. Overall clean, well executed, and it gets a thumbs up from me. Let's see what we got feedback from the community. Michael says, the colors show vibrantly. I would definitely agree right there. And then also, let's see. Oh, wow. Sniff gave you a thumbs up. Really nice work on the RGB settings. Very cool. So, and then the cable is beautiful, right? Okay. I think we can dig that. All right. Overclock. That is a nice one. So good job, man. Thanks for submitting that for a feature here on the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. Let's go ahead and go into our next build here. See what we've got right here. And I know a couple of these, I was going to be like, hey, I wanted to get additional images. So I didn't do all of them. So let's go ahead and see here. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. They didn't give me that many images, but we've got at least a couple to be able to go ahead and take a look at here. So let's go and see what we've got right here. Let me bring up his submission form. And this will be, sorry, Albert. And Albert is LXT Sentry, if that is correct. Hopefully I'm saying that right. All right. See what we got here. Okay. So this is interesting. Okay. So got this cool kind of color right here. I like the actual pink, blue, and white. I love this kind of color combination. And then we've got black as the primary right there. But then this green is kind of, I don't know. I feel like the green is throwing it off a little bit. I don't know what you guys think. So like, I feel like if I would have gone with maybe white, so these are white right here, which I think is fine. And I would have maybe kept this white to complement the pink, white, and the blue, right? So I think either you would make the that accent color, either white, blue, or pink to go along with those cables. I think white would have been fine as giving you just a natural, you know, kind of alignment color. But I think the kind of green teal feels a little bit off for me. I think it throws it off a little bit. But overall, I mean, it's not bad. The only thing I would maybe probably say is that here could have gone with, if you put the extension on here, maybe also do the extension on here just to have it be a little bit cleaner, more symmetrical, because you've got the little pigtail cable right here. So I would have probably put the extension on this one. But it's entirely functional. There's nothing wrong with that. It's entirely fine. Overall, the layout's pretty clean, and it's not cables that are kind of running out everywhere. This one, I could maybe argue that maybe you could flip this. So this cable, instead of kind of doing this like weird little hook, if you went the other route, you could actually flip it and it would then maybe swoop up under here and then kind of go to the back to maybe give you just a little bit of a cleaner look. But otherwise, it's nice and balanced. I like the color scheme. I would probably just maybe try to align it a little bit more and maybe clean up that cable just a smidge. But overall, it's a cool looking build. Cool setup. He's got with the dual monitors right there to be able to go ahead and take advantage of his system. And overall, I've got, like I said, nothing to complain about. It's functional. It's well laid out. I would just, like I said, maybe tweak that a little bit. And here in this shot, I think it looks a little bit better with the green because, you know, we've got, I really like this orange kind of yellow color that he's got going on. So like I almost then wish I had orange and yellow somewhere else, right? As opposed to having orange and yellow, the pink, blue, and white, and then the kind of accent right here. So I think just a little bit of kind of cohesiveness, but man, it's a nice build and well kind of laid out. Let's see right there. So see some feedback that we have there from the community. AMG Blues asking, why does the Z690 gaming Wi-Fi not detect an AI pump? You probably have it plugged into the wrong header is probably what I'd say. I mean, there's a dedicated pump header and there's nothing to quote unquote detect. Once it's plugged in, it runs at default 100%. So if you have another issue with that, maybe double check your cabling, make sure you have it actually fully seated. A lot of times the cables can actually fray or the actual endpoint can be broken on the inside of the actual header itself. So that could be an indicator that there's a problem. You could easily actually check that physical header by plugging in a fan and seeing if the fan works, which would help you confirm that the header is actually working fine and the issue actually might be with your pump. Statistically, it's much more likely that your pump has a fault or the cable has a fault. Okay, but let's start here seeing... let's see. Somebody's asking about, let's see, Sneff says, same as the blue as the cables. Yeah, I agreed. Michael says, either way, the whiter, the pink in the lower area to blend better. Yeah, I could also see that. That would make sense as well. Yeah, so yeah, I think just maybe being a little bit more kind of conscious as far as how to try to coordinate those colors would be about the thing. Hey, Parker51, if you want to go ahead and maybe drop an email or maybe in the group, you know, PCDIY@asus.com, or create a post in the group, we can see if maybe you can get some feedback. But keep in mind that coil whine itself can be caused by a number of different factors. In it by itself, inductor resonance isn't actually a fault or an issue. But sometimes, you know, depending on the power supply configuration and load configurations, it can be a factor that could be causing something. So the first thing I would recommend is go back and double check all your actual physical connections, make sure that they're not weak. 2, load UEFI defaults and double confirm that. If you have a secondary power supply, you could also swap out the secondary power supply and see if you have a difference there. Let's go ahead and bring up his submission form right here. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, and let's go back to his system right there. Okay, so this is going to be from Albert. And this was actually Albert's first build. So, you know, I want to give credit to Albert for being a still first build. It's clean, it's well laid out, it's functional, and it's up and running, right? So I think the other choices right there, to each his own, right? We all have our own preferences when it comes to kind of the look and feel of how we have our systems, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. Does the build have a theme? Style by ROG. You can definitely see that he's a big fan. He's got, of course, his ROG Strix board. He's got a Strix LC cooler, and then he's got a Strix graphics card in there. And I like the green. Like if these would have just been like white, and then this would have been green, I think that would have been hot. And then you could even keep the memory orange, which I still think would have looked cool as a contrast to the green. So we got a Ryzen 5 3600. Then he's got a 16 gigabyte kit of memory in there, an ROG Strix X470F board, GTX 2060 Super in there, an ROG Strix card, and then the he says he's got the Ryujin, but this actually is the Ryu, not the Ryujin. Then he's got a 2 terabyte HDD in there, and then a 250 gigabyte SSD. And then he's got, of course, RGB fans that are set up in the system. About $2,000 was the overall price point for his build. He's most happy that he was able to get his GPU that he was looking for, which is the 2060 Super. Anything he would change about the build would probably be actually upgrading the GPU. And how long did it take him to put together the system? He doesn't remember, but he has upgraded it since 2018, and he predominantly uses just for streaming and some general kind of gaming. And he's a big fan of Armory Crate to be able to go ahead and easily kind of tweak and tune all the lighting options and set different kind of lighting profiles in there. Man, overall, cool, thumbs up, solid first job, man. Yeah, the Corsair H150 flashing red with pump. So that's a little bit more complicated because the Corsair uses their own kind of proprietary system for how they set up actually fans and pumps and things like that. If I remember correctly, the H150i, if you look in the manual, the actual tachometer cable is supposed to go to the CPU fan header cable. So it doesn't plug into the AIO pump. So if you're plugging into the AIO pump, you haven't read the manual, which you should, but it doesn't connect to the AIO pump header because it's not an AIO pump. It's just being used for a readout value so that the motherboard essentially knows that there's a cooling solution that's present, and it essentially powers on and goes through what's called the post and the boot. So you want to actually run that cable generally to the CPU fan header on the motherboard. If you're running it to the AIO fan header, you've done something wrong. Hopefully that helps you there, AMG Blue 59. All right. Let's go next to our next build. We'll probably do two more guys here in terms of our builder spotlight. So let me go ahead and see. I think I want to go with, let's wrap it up with two awesome builds. We're going to go with one from Snef and one other one. I haven't decided what's the other one going to be right here, but let's go with this very cool build from one of the best in the game. I always say it, but it's the truth. Let's go and check out what our friend over at Sniff Computer Design has gone ahead and sent over us this time. And this one, actually, I don't remember seeing this one, so it was a little new to me at the same time. So let me go ahead and just drop in the name information right here. This is, I believe, Green Carnage. Hey, Kevin. Oh, Kevin's here. You know what? I think actually we're going to do three, and I'm going to make sure to give Kevin his second feature because I know Kevin had a build that we didn't do the second one. So let's go ahead and check it out. So this is Green Carnage, guys, and I love this this build for a lot of different reasons. One, I love that it showcases this board. I worked so hard with the product management team to get this board designed and developed. This was the Sobranco edition motherboard where I wanted to have a white edition based board, and I really wanted to take advantage of the design aesthetic that we had with the thermal armor design that we had on the motherboard. And I remember working really closely with Mark, who's no longer leading this team with us at ASUS, but he was a fantastic guy, really worked great, and really took a lot of the community feedback over the years to really be able to kind of design and develop a lot of what was in our TUF Sabertooth series of motherboards. And so this was actually with the Sobranco board, where you can actually see right there the white PCB, but it's beautifully accented then by Snef, then bringing it in with this beautiful accent of the green, right, which is this bold, bright green. And then I love that it's all silhouetted in this really kind of almost muted kind of cobalt, kind of silver color, which I think looks fantastic. So we have three colors kind of going on in this system that I think look fantastic. And then I get accentuated with this really nice bright green that just looks super clean. Of course, here we've got a multi-GPU configuration, which isn't the trend now, but this, of course, bridged block looks really clean and classy. And I love that also keeping it in this kind of tiered configuration gives you that kind of depth to be able to see the white on the board. And these runs, I love the runs because we have some nice runs right here that just go on this side to give us a little bit of more visibility on the left-hand side of the board. And then I always really like runs that actually go at the top and out because I feel they give you a little bit more visibility. And they also don't cover the memory, which I think is kind of cool. So it gives you a really kind of overall nice aesthetic that you have laid out right here. So here we can, of course, see it a little bit more straight on and actually with the side panel on there. And I love that he put in some internal lighting right there to give it a little bit kind of a bright showcase. And that works well a lot of times with white. It kind of just pops up the white a little bit and amps it up a bit. So it gives it definitely kind of a pronounced, almost kind of like spotlight effect, like it's being shown off, which is pretty cool right there. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's so cool. So right here, we've got Carnage on these custom backplates. And we've got Green Carnage right there. And we got the Carnage right there. We got the blocks going on right there. Bits power fittings. Got the nice, of course, look at that. Even the sheath. Look at that. The sheath cable right there for the white. Some beautiful custom cables right there. Huge, massive pump and res right here. Taking care, of course, of the water cooling needs. And that nice, just clean front intake. I think this, if I'm wrong here, Snef, I'll see it in the builder spotlight, but I think this is the Corsair GT series mid chassis, right? I think this is, at least I think if I remember right, I think this is the Corsair chassis. But overall, really cool. I love down here, of course, the functional elements. I even like just seeing here, of course, this chassis, it was before kind of really the era of you having like PSU cavities and kind of shrouds and stuff like that. But this kind of is still very nicely, cleanly laid out in terms of the overall kind of accessibility, and the cables just kind of flow in there nicely and give a visual aesthetic that I think looks nice. And there we can see again, pulled off, looks really, really nice and really clean. Yeah, 780T. Yep, that's exactly it. Corsair 780T. Yeah. Let's see. The subdued chassis color really makes the green, pop out. Yep, I definitely agree. Kevin says that love the green and the white. The thick rads, yeah, these are some monster radiators right here. The key thing with having such big radiators like this is, of course, you have displacement, but you also need to be really kind of sensible about picking the right type of fans, because, of course, you have to account for, of course, the resistance, right? Right there, Sneff says, what a great motherboard for that, right? Well packed and wonderful. Very, very cool. Yeah, no, I think this is a fantastic looking build. Yeah, I love the way that this turned out. It's just like, it's a great showcase, and I think it was really nice to just be able to have this white Sabranco motherboard, right? Be able to kind of touch on. And some cool things you guys might not realize, this board had like over like 12 sensors built on the motherboard that gave you like a full real-time thermal readout, so you could see, you know, the temperature over here, the temperature over here, the temperature over here, temperature for around the CPU socket. There was actually, if you notice he used these are cool. These were the TUF actually dust guards, dust defenders, which were actually little covers that you would use to actually cover the slots on the motherboard. So those have been installed on the system right there. But overall, a fantastic build like always. I mean, Sneff hits it out of the park. And right now, even for today, this would look fantastic if this was a modern build. But this is, of course, from years ago and still a really great looking build. So let's go ahead and bring up the submission form right here. And let me just see what we've got. A little nice blast from the past right here. And give me 1 second here. Oh, and I totally forgot to put that one up. Sorry, Sneff. I want to make sure that we always give credit. So there we go. Okay. So, of course, this is from Sneff Computer Design. If you guys are not following on Instagram and Facebook, it's your loss, but make sure and do it. Let's see right here. Oh, there's actually a video. Cool. Let me actually see if I can bring up the video right here. I will do that here in a second. 3 words to describe the build: classic white motherboard, clean and monsters for the theme and the front radiator. Of course, that's super big radiator for sure. Does the build have a name? Green Carnage. In terms of the core hardware, yeah, this was the TUF Z97 Mark S, so that was a Sabranco edition board. Then also had 2 ASUS R9 R9, so Radeon 290 DirectCU OC graphics cards that were then water blocked. So this was actually before ROG Strix. This was in the ROG DirectCU, excuse me, the ASUS DirectCU series of graphics cards. Then we had a 4790K in there, 250 gigabyte SSD, 1000 watt, 1050 watt power supply from Seasonic, they're snow silent, and that's inside of a Corsair 780T. Then custom cables by NSource, then Alpha Cool Rad Monster Rad on the front and top right. So yeah, we've got 2 huge beefy rads that are there. EK water blocks for the CPU and for the GPU, and then Bits Power fittings and tubing, and then Geld wing fans. Oh, that's what those are, the Geld wing fans. Those are actually were nice fans, the Geld wing fans. Good tonality on those fans, I remember. It was around $3,500 in terms of the overall build budget right there. He was most proud of the actual contrast of the colors and the custom backplate, which I would agree. At that time, it was super rare. You didn't see custom backplates being put on graphics cards. Sometimes you just see the bare of the card, or in some situations, maybe you could try to mod it to keep the backplate of the original card, but that was also difficult. So yeah, having those custom backplates was a nice touch. How long did it take him to build? He doesn't remember. In terms, it was predominantly pretty much just used for a gaming-based build. And his favorite feature was the white motherboard, including the PCB, which was also white. And I would agree. That was definitely one of the distinguishing elements on this build, was being able to go with that white-based motherboard. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. We've got a little bit of this green carnage that we can take a look at. So, oh, there we go. Very, very cool. And there you can see how you get a little bit more effect. And this is one thing, I actually missed this a little bit. I mean, now that we've entered in the RGB era, we don't see colored fans anymore, but colored fans actually sometimes have a very different feel to them than RGB because you're not using something to create light. They inherently have a color to them. Like in one of the previous builds that we saw with the BitPhoenix red fans, where the fans are red, they provide a specific kind of feel and identity to the system that is different than RGB. And so actually I like that we have LED in there, which is probably a white LED, but then it's working with the green polymer, right? The green plastic, which actually gives it a different vibe, which is cool. And then we've got the memory in there. I love that, those DIMMs that we have in there. Very, very cool. I don't remember, these maybe a pacer. I think these might be maybe a pacer, I'm not sure. But overall, very, very cool. And I do really think those green DIMMs look fantastic right there. So that's a definitely cool system. We got to throw a thumbs up right there. Bam, let's do it. Thumbs up. Thumbs up for Green Carnage right there. Let's see. I love the 4770K. I have too. Yeah. These fans have white LED with green blade. Yeah, they were so great. I definitely agree. And also, I think every builder will appreciate the era of when you didn't have to have RGB cables, right? You literally just plugged one cable into the fan of the motherboard, and the motherboard, it would control the fans. You didn't have to worry about any software or anything. It just had kind of an ease of use because it just had a built-in LED into it. You plugged it into the motherboard, and that was it, right? You had a fixed color, but it was something that was just easy and not complicated to work with, right? So overall, very, very cool build, man. Thanks for sharing that one. That's an awesome build. All right, so let's go and flash forward, and we'll go to an entirely new build, and we're going to go to another one from another amazing builder and modder over here from Record Liquid. I'm sure you guys have seen this one, so let's go ahead and take a look at it right here. This is going to be an absolute stunner. Love the way that this build turned out. This is going to be, of course, from people. If you guys are aware of this is going to be from Liquid House, and this is Project LANCool, because of course our friends over at Lian Li just launched a brand new edition chassis with, of course, the LANCool. This is the LANCool, I believe, 3. Yeah, and here we can see we're going from a white build to another white build, and a white motherboard to another white motherboard, right? And so here, a fantastic looking setup. Love the overall kind of look and feel for this system right here, along with the creativity in terms of the layout, that we didn't go with the kind of standard type of layout in terms of the hardline runs and the integration that you might use with something like a distro, right? So here you can of course see the LAN Unifans, that nice big exposed front identity right there, that nice bottom cavity. I love just a little bit of the accent lighting, similar to kind of actually what we saw in Snef's build right there, where you're just using it to kind of show silhouette the board, right? It's not about fully illuminating everything. You're just trying to be able to spotlight sometimes a little bit of a certain color or a certain component within the system. But it looks fantastic. As you see then right there, you can see the beautiful, of course, ROG armor that we've got right there on the newest Z690 Maximus formula board, which of course was in white. And then you also see, of course, the accent colors, right, which are going to be the chrome, a little bit of subtle black that you have in there. And so you got chrome, white, and black all in there, kind of working in that harmonious kind of color palette. It looks overall fantastic. So let's keep moving along there. We go into then the back of the system right here. We can see we've got, of course, the Delta Max. Those are their RGB-based SSDs, really nicely integrated. Just a nice little pop just to be able to give you some extra space for one, but also just give you a little bit of a cool accent lighting, which I think is really nicely done. And then, of course, they integrated in all those nice covers to be able to kind of pretty much hide all the cable management. You can still see that you have more space down there for, of course, more flexibility in terms of more storage or more adjustment in terms of kind of water-cooled setups, right? As we take a closer look right here, really just nice soft colors, right? So the Maximus board, if you've ever seen it just by itself, has a little bit of a muted kind of color scheme, but then I love how the actual chrome, which has a little bit of more polished accent, works with the system. So we kind of have the reinforcement of a soft and a little bit of a kind of polished appearance, which I think looks really, really great with each other. And then I really love this choice of doing sheathing on this, which just gives it a nice textural element, which makes it feel different. It makes it feel a little bit kind of quote unquote more organic, because you have a textured material as opposed to the rigidity and the hardness that you have with other materials like, you know, with metals, right? So it just gives you a little bit of a different vibe. I love the choice of the block in here also to go with the heat killer blocks, which I think look fantastic with this type of feel. All right, we pull that back and we can see, of course, more of that heat killer integration with the heat killer rads. And then we've got the block and then the really, really nice integration right here. I like the purposeful approach to keep this, of course, horizontal, gives you depth and perspective. The bridge combs look great. This hard line down here at the bottom to give you kind of an accent bar looks really nice to give you this silver pop at the base, and then just kind of moves your eye upwards. And then look at this, guys, right here. You don't see this a lot, very common, but I love this super high performance DDR5 memory water block setup, right? It's just totally next level. It doesn't need to be there. But at the same time, if you're going to be running 4 DIMMs, you're going to be actually pushing memory. I can tell you that the memory stability starts to break up a bit when you start to get to about 1.35 to about 1.45 volts for DDR5, and you're running large density configurations at higher memory MT values. So if you're running like 5800 to 6000, actually lowering the temperature can help to improve the stability. So this does actually have technical benefit, but it is totally kind of just next level overkill a little bit when we just talk about the aesthetics, but it also makes it look very different and takes away that vibe of seeing something naturally you would see in terms of the RGB memory, right? And then that all gets kind of brought together just with by really kind of nice mix and bends, right, that we have throughout. So this beautiful, just kind of soft bend right there. These just like nice course use of just different types of fittings that we have laid out there. And then love this kind of like I said, layout. Love the actual heat killer block. Goes in right there into the memory, right? And then go out right here. And you can actually see a lot of this is just intelligent layout. There's not huge number of bends, but very specific purposeful bends that I think came out really, really nicely. So overall, fantastic build, really clean, really well executed. Color theme is on point. Fit and finish is on point. The layout and the overall visibility is fantastic. I really just love the way that this build turned out. They hit it, hit it out of the park. It's just a fantastic showcase for the chassis, for the board, for the hardware. I've got nothing to complain about. It turned out beautifully right here. So let's go ahead and bring up the submission form. So give me 1 second right here. So this is going to be from John over at, of course, Liquid House. And you guys, if you guys are not following them again on Instagram and Facebook, make sure to go ahead and check them out. It's a fantastic, of course, space to just be able to see amazing builds, amazing content. Does the build have a theme as abstract amalgamation, utilizing design cues, finishes, and textures and colors from multiple brands to create a uniform and overall flowing aesthetic that is free from any dedicated theme? And I think that is actually a really elegant way of saying that it's a complementary synergistic experience, right? It's about bringing all those items together to create a unified look and feel that in itself is the actual definition of all the items brought together. Sometimes we just see kind of pieces of hardware shown off, but there's not necessarily a comprehensive theme. And I think the best builders in the game, like, Nordic 3D, like AK Mod, like Team IM, like SNEF, like Liquid House right here, these are guys that take that kind of perspective to really give you a vision and have the hardware, the build, and everything complement that unified vision. And that's definitely what we have right here. 3 words to describe the build is artistic, chaotic, amalgam, and abstract. I like that. I definitely think those all work. I also think that there's a kind of an almost organic symmetry to it and fluidity because of how all of it is kind of looped in so much, because it's really cool if you actually take a look right here of how much is actually being cooled, right? We've got the CPU cooled, we've got the motherboard VRM being cooled, and the memory being cooled, and the GPU being cooled. And that's pretty rare. Most systems don't have all of those items all being water cooled and then being integrated into essentially one rad over here and then another rad right there. So I think that would be some of my feedback on that side, right? So build have a name, Project LandCool. What we when we decide to do projects based around a new case launch, it's easier to name them the project after the specific case, which I think makes sense. In terms of the core hardware, let me bring up the builds GG list right here that we have. So see right here. So this was actually interesting right here. Due to the crazy timeline, this build is actually pretty special to me. I was alone and fully in my element. I let my creative side go crazy essentially at first because I had no choice. I had no idea what the actual design or look was that I wanted. For the most part, I wing the design each time as the build is done. And I think actually the best artists, sometimes you do that. You don't go in with a plan, you just kind of feel it out. And as you're kind of throwing, quote unquote, the paint on the canvas, the painting comes out. And some artists and some painters and sculptors will tell you the same thing. The clay kind of made the image, and I just ended up being the tool to make it, right? And it kind of ends up happening over time, right? This allows for a more natural approach at filling in your canvas with something that's truly unique, but I usually do it over a week or a few weeks for a build. So it was super fun challenge to try and nail something cool that is still somewhat different than what you'd find inside your usual case, being that this is still considered a traditional layout chassis. So I think he definitely nailed it in that perspective, right? So this is featuring a Core i7-12700KF, Maximus Formula Z690 board, and then we've got some PNY XLR memory, 600 MT. That's a 32 gigabyte configuration. There's actually 2 sets of those, so it's a total of 64 gigs, 6000 MT, which actually should be doable within a 4DIMM configuration if you've got a good IMC. We then also have a 3080 Ti, which is water cooled, and then Team Group Team Force Cadre 1 terabyte drive, and then 2 of the Delta RGB Max drives. So that's a total of 3 terabytes there. And then that's all powered from an ROG Strix power supply that's also in the system. And that's inside the LAN Cool 3. And then he's got the Lanley Unifans, right? The SL Infinity ones. And then custom cables that are coming in from Cable Mod. And then, of course, you can see tons of water cool, alpha cool based items that are in there, right? Tons of different components, but a beautiful build that's really, really nicely executed. Never calculated the final cost, as many of the parts were, of course, sponsored right there. Let's see. What was he most proud of is that he built the entire rig from beginning, from mock-ups to finished build with OS installation, all within 20 hours. It was an excellent challenge and a ton of fun to let this build get finished. That's pretty insane for me. That's pretty crazy, right? That he did that in 20 hours. Anything he would change in the build, not a chance. And I would 100% agree with that. It's pretty much used as a product showcase, probably also use it to host some future build streams, right? And he's a big fan of the overall just design aesthetic on our boards and our products. So the Maximus formula really helped to kind of bring together the overall look and feel for the system, man. You hit it out of the park, man. Nailed it. It's a fantastic build. Let me just see right there. Yeah. Wow, those bends. The muted appearance is amazing. Love it. Really great work. And let's see, Michael said, it almost has an industrial scientific look to it where everything is over-engineered and secured, right? Yeah, I definitely would agree. Overall, very, very cool. Sabi is asking about the Z690 Apex. The Z690 Apex, you won't be able to find it. So if you found it, new in box, you should buy it because it's EOL. It's no longer in production. So you can't get the Z690 Apex board anymore. All right. I think that pretty much wraps out our spotlight. I'm going to see if I can find it here really quickly. If I can find it, I'm going to go ahead and show it because I know that I've got one right here. Let me see if I can find it. We've got one build from Kevin that I know I wanted to be able to go ahead and touch on. So let me see if I have it in here. Yes. I think it's yes. Kevin, if Kevin's still on the stream, we got it right here. I'm going to do it. Let's wrap it up. I'm going to wrap up this week. Hopefully everybody has a great week, man. A great weekend. If you guys aren't, make sure to join. If you guys got time, make sure to go ahead and join us tomorrow. We're going to be doing a live stream from the ASUS Experience Center. We're going to be doing some live overclocking. I'll be there. I'll be showing off some stuff. So I'd love to have you guys join us for the stream. It's already on schedule for the YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go ahead and join us there, feel free to go ahead and do that. It'll be fantastic. But let's go ahead and wrap out this long stream for today with the ASUS Essential Sleeper from Kevin. All right, let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got right here. This is a cool build because it brings together, I think, a lot of cool elements in terms of how Kevin has done these builds where he's kind of gotten together older components and then put them together for specific purposes. So the last system that we took a look at from Kevin was his XG server, which was his system that was focused for 10G based networking. right? And this one is actually going to be kind of like a retro gaming, and I think kind of like emulation-based system that he has going on. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. So here he's got a board that I think it wasn't even available in North America. So I think he actually got this like board like imported somehow. I don't know, through like eBay or through like third-party marketplace, but it's an ASUS B85 Gamer. So this was actually from an era that we had where we had ASUS motherboards. There was no ROG Strix, and there was only high-end ROG. We still had TUF at the time, but there was like no TUF Gaming. And we were test piloting a concept that we was calling ASUS Pro Gaming. And so that was kind of like a entry to an ASUS gaming product portfolio. Now we don't have that, and we have like our good, better, best, where we have like TUF Gaming, ROG Strix, and we have ROG in the high end, right? But for this period, we had a couple of boards that were produced under this Pro Gaming line. And so this is actually one of those boards, and that's why it was called in the Gamer. We've got that older Corsair Vengeance memory with those metal heat sinks that we have right there. Oh, those are a nice memory. The only bummer is that sometimes these little heat sinks, they came a little bit loose sometimes over time, and they were a little bit tricky sometimes to put back on. But we can have this. The cool thing is he then took an ASUS Essentio, which was a desktop system that we sold. It was pre-built and it had hardware already in it, but he took it out and then he modded it to essentially be able to put in his own hardware to make his own DIY system. And then I think he also spray painted this black, if I remember, because of course the inside doesn't look like this. The inside is silver, so I think he went with like a flat black matte to be able to go ahead and paint out the interior. And I like that. That gives it like a little bit of a cool kind of more vibe to it. He's then got a traditional mechanical drive in there. We've got an optical drive in there. He's got a Strix then power supply. I like that he got the low profile Tower Noctua heatsink in there to give you some nice cooling performance, more than enough that's needed then for this CPU that's in there. And then you got a direct rear exhaust. That's actually a really just nice clean setup. So you've got your intake, you've got your exhaust, you've got your good Tower heatsink right there, and you're all set. And then he's got a big beefy DirectCU card. So this was like in our GTX 680 era, 7970 kind of era, where we had like these triple slot huge cards. They were great, really good cooling performance for those GPUs that were running definitely on the hotter side, but overall pretty cool. And it's actually got a really cool kind of clean little aesthetic to it in this compact system that it was never made for any of this hardware. And he went ahead and he put it all together in here. So I love this kind of a cool little sleeper build, right? So totally looks like this like system that you would buy from, online and have, your basic, basic all hardware that's in there, but he's now got to upgrade to gamer grade hardware. And then look, even added a little bit LED lighting. So I definitely like that. And then you can see that stored there in a desktop setup, right? And then connected to a CRT monitor to be able to get that outstanding motion clarity, right? So being able to go back to that retro gaming setup, right? Have that really nice high quality CRT, motion clarity experience, and then kind of just locks in that whole variable too. Plus you have that CRT look, which is really kind of interesting for certain type of game engines, especially when you're going with older game titles that were designed to actually kind of match the look and feel and the refresh rate experience that you would have for a CRT. So overall, I was a big fan of the way this turned out. Let me go ahead and bring up the submission form here for Kevin's build. So give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, I got it right here. Okay, cool. And let's bring that one back up there. There we go. Okay, cool. And submission form. All right. So this is, from Kevin Daly. And definitely not his first build. The build have a theme. This is a throwback build using older ASUS parts at its core with some new additions. 3 words to describe the build would be red, black, and old. Then the name of the build is the ASUS Essentio Sleeper. In terms of the core hardware, we've got a Core i7-4770K. That's a great CPU. It's got some nice overclocking headroom. Then he's got a Noctua U9S cooler on there. And that's that B85 Gamer motherboard. Corsair Vengeance, he's got 16 gigabytes that's installed in there. I nailed the GPU. Yeah, it's a GTX 680 DirectCU top. He's got the top. Top is very rare. If you guys don't know, we almost never release top editions. We have our normal card, our OC card, and then we would have top. Top was the ultimate binned versions of our GPUs. Generally very, very low yield. So they were much more expensive, but they were generally very aggressively overclocked. They generally percentage-wise, usually almost like the top 15% of the GPUs would be reserved for top. So very, very, that's like the best edition samples that we would have. Then an 850 watt Strix power supply in there, Samsung 840 Pro 500 gigabyte SSD. And then he's also got that's inside the case, all right, the M11BV chassis. And then he's got an ASUS optical drive, the DRW24B1ST. And then he also has that keyboard that you saw in there. That's our original ASUS ROG gaming keyboard, the GK2000 Horus. And then he's got a GS7090 CRT monitor, which we saw. And then rounding out the fans is some 92 millimeter Noctua case fans right here for the intake and for the exhaust. So budget altogether, $375. That's some smart spending. And then I love the Asus B85 gamer motherboard. I ordered it from China since it seems they didn't have it in North America. In my eyes, it's the perfect MTX board created for this type of build. In terms of a budget gaming MATX board, it borrows technology from our ROG boards like SupremeFX audio, LAN and BIOS features, and was able to easily overclock my 4770K to 4.4 gigahertz. And all great in this nice little compact board. Is there anything you would change about the build? He's still hoping to maybe get a GTX 980 to be able to power the build in the future. Took about 3 hours to put it together, and he uses this for gaming, especially retro gaming. So Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Quake, Halo, and then various emulators. His overall favorite feature was the Asus B85 gamer BIOS. It was spot on, easy, and able to go ahead and allow him to overclock that 4770K, man. It turned out great, man. It's very, very cool. Hey, Jason, thanks so much for joining us here on the stream. We're wrapping things up, but very cool. Let's see right here. Kinda Cheese says, I want a next-gen top. Oh, yeah, just like people want a Matrix, right? Maybe we should have a Matrix top edition. Let me know if that's what you guys want. Matrix in a top edition, right? Cabling is a Craftsman. I would agree. He nailed it to be able to get all those cables really nicely integrated in a chassis that is not suited towards any type of cable management. Michael gives a little bit of shout out that the red accents work nicely. Kevin's actually here, always here. Can't wait for tomorrow's stream, man. Thank you so much. Michael, you didn't miss the giveaway. We actually announced all the giveaways a little bit earlier in the stream. You can go back and definitely check on them. There were 4 giveaways in total. We have the Scar Runner giveaway, which is for an ROG Strix 17 SE gaming laptop. We had the ZenBeam 2 portable projector giveaway, the ROG Evangelion base giveaway, and then the TUF Gaming fan and ROGxEVangelion fan giveaway also announcement. So overall, very, very cool. Fantastic to be able to show off that build here in the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. Thank you so much, Kevin. And speaking of the XF120, do I have it right here? I have one right here. It's on sale right now, guys. You guys can get it for $20. It's $10 off right now. You can pick it up on Amazon. If you guys are looking for a nice, high quality, non-RGB 120 millimeter fan, check it out. ROGxEVangelion will get you done. All right, guys. Thanks so much for checking us out here on the stream. And again, if you guys are interested in checking out some extreme overclocking, we're going to be doing extreme overclocking tomorrow on the PC DIY OC edition meetup that we're going to be doing from the ASUS Experience Center. We're going to be having overclocking happening on Ryzen. So on our Crosshair 8 Dark Hero, we're going to have overclocking on 12th gen series CPUs on our Maximus Z690 Apex. I think there's also going to be some Zenith Threadripper based overclocking that's going on. We'll be doing a little bit of a demo. We'll have a little bit of a Q&A with some overclockers, and we'll also have some people that are joining us from the Bay Area there that'll be taking a look at some cool hardware. So we'll show some stuff off there too tomorrow on the stream. So make sure to join us for that stream. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the PC DIY group. If you're not joined, make sure to go ahead and join. Take care, take it easy, best of luck with your builds, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Johnny boy, no 140 millimeter fan right now. We have it under design and development. We're considering it, but as of right now, we're focusing on the 120 millimeter for the XF120, and then the new TUF Gaming fans, we'll have them white and black, but those will also be 120 millimeter. Whether or not we will come out with a 140, just make sure to keep it tuned. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.